Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the 4-Star Chicago Sports and another edition of the Northside 9. We're headed into the All-Star break. The Cubs are somehow staying right in the thick of things. We're going to talk about how they can stay in the thick of things. If we believe they can stay in the thick of things, what do they do in this bullpen? The historic run that PCA is on, and if you haven't seen the blind resume of who he's matching up against to start his career, holy crap, we're going to blow your mind here in just a couple of minutes. And if you don't like PCA talk, you probably shouldn't tune in here because there's going to be a lot of it. Because we got to talk about the best thing going on in Chicago sports right now, and that's PCA. And we're going to get into it right after this.
Windy City banners rocking 4 stars align. Dynasty dreams rise, Bulls in their prime. Cubs curse shattered, the victory divine. Fields be running, clock ticking on my timeline. Shot-town heroes, legends never fade. Black Hawks flying, cutting ice with the blade. White Sox diamonds, the Southside parade. 4 stars shine bright, legacies they made. Mike with the crown, air rain, no dispute. Sweetness in the backfield, Walter in pursuit. Bear down Sunday's midfield, battles cute. Chicago.
Holy man alive. What a run the Cubs have turned this on. I don't know. Did you use that roller coaster ride last week, Kyle?
I had it on the screen like the whole show, so you didn't have to see my face.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a turbulent season, but this turbulent season is, kind of out of the control because of the injuries. And I know, Kyle, you've talked about this many a times. If what it could be if this team was 100% healthy with Cade Horton and Justin Steele heading the top of this rotation. We're going to get what's that?
And Ben Brown.
And you know what? Sometimes an injury can be a blessing because if there was no injuries, we wouldn't know. Ben Brown would probably be starring out of the bullpen, right? And maybe not be a starter.
Yeah, but then we lost him too.
But you know what? It wasn't a sizzling night last night as Hunter Green and the Cincinnati Reds, struck out 16 Chicago Cubs batters. Seiya Suzuki was really on the offense yesterday, going 2 for 4 with a double. Shota, a lot of traffic on the bases. We're going to talk about him too because he is an enigma here on the north side, but gave us 5 solid. He had to work through a lot, but only gave up 1 earned run, struck out 5. But Hunter Green was just on in his second performance. Coming off the DL, he had everything moving. He had the Cubs on their heels. And, unfortunately, sometimes that's just going to happen. The thing that bothered me the most, Kyle, was the final game in Baltimore. Not only did the Cubs get hosed, in my opinion, by the umpires, and I'm going to show you this play right now because I want to talk about a couple things that happened in this game because I didn't understand how Nico Hoerner wasn't safe at second base. He should have been because, A, there was interference. The second base was clearly blocked, and he did not have a clear path. Deshays and Boogs talked about it during the game, and that was my initial reaction. And this could have sparked the rally. It didn't because it was taken away.
The middle infielder, the infielder, is supposed to give the base runner a clear path to the base.
Yeah, he's not.
He blocked the base.
It looked like, I don't know, Kyle, you take a look at that. It looked like his foot was impeding Nico Hoerner's ability to get his hand on the base. You're not allowed to do that. The rule is runners should have a clear space to get to second base. Could have sparked that 9th inning rally that we were open for against Baltimore. And the other thing, because I want you to break both of these things down. Ryan Rollison has been solid coming out of the pen. He chose to go in a 1-run ball game, which eventually cost the Cubs, with a guy with a 7 earned run average. And I know Ferguson's been good, came in, had some good innings for the Cubs, but you had a piece that's been consistent for you. And I do want to talk a little bit about Counsell because I do want to give him flowers, but every time I do, it seems like there's inconsistencies with him. And that final game in Baltimore kind of pissed me off because I'm like, I know you couldn't bring Trent Thornton in because he was coming off back-to-backs. Caleb Fieldbar kind of looks like crap, but you did have Rollison there who has been consistent, blocking the base. What are your impressions? What are your thoughts of that? That Baltimore finale?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, he was definitely blocking the base, guys. It's not even a question. But the problem is that Nico had already gotten on second, and he came off of the base. So basically, their explanation to correct counsel was, well, he must not have blocked it too bad because Nico was on the base, and then he slid past it, and he came off of it, and that's when he got tagged out. They were never going to admit their mistake. They wanted that game to be over, man. The game was over. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Ferguson thing, it sucks, man, because this team should be capable of winning games 2-1, 1-0, 3-2. Like that's how you win games in the playoffs, Sean. You've talked about it a million times. In the playoffs, you're not going to score 9 runs against the best pitchers in the world, right? You saw it with Hunter Green yesterday. Look at Bruce in the chat here says, I'm not worried about yesterday. It was one bad game. It's Hunter Green. You're going to lose those guys. Well, you're going to play those guys in the playoffs. All those guys. That's all in the playoffs. That's all you're going to get are the Yamamotos and Otanis and Hunter Green, like those star ace pitchers. At the end of the day, Sean, when it comes to Ferguson putting 2 men on base by hit batsmen, this is what the Cubs, they have no arms left. These are the guys that are like, I mean, Sean, if I had told you to start the season, before the season started, week 1 of the season, I said, Sean, right before the All-Star break, our 2 high leverage pitchers, 8th, 9th inning, are going to be Ryan Rollison and Jacob Webb. You would have laughed in my face. You would have laughed in my face. You would have laughed. He's got Craig's literally got nobody to go to. He's got nobody to go to. It's like we talked about this last week, Sean, a little bit when I was here by myself. Every time the Cubs bullpen starts to come in with a lead, whether it be 2-run lead, 3-run lead, as long as as long as it's not like an 8-run lead. If it's anything like less than 6, you're just holding on for dear life. You're like, oh God. I mean, dude, they keep bringing guys in. I was literally at the bar yesterday, and they brought in what's his name?
That Woodford.
Yeah, Woodford, and literally a guy at the bar who knows I like the Cubs a lot, and he's kind of a casual baseball fan. He's like, who's this Woodford guy? I've never seen him. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea who that guy is. I have absolutely no idea who that guy is.
He was pumping gas last week.
Some guy they picked up off the waiver wire who's probably got a 9.5 ERA, and now he's here in a high leverage situation for the Cubs. It's a 1-0 ball game. We've never heard of this guy in our lives, and I can tell you exactly what's about to happen. He's about to give up 3 or 4 runs, and the Cubs are going to lose this game, and that's how it goes. And to be honest with you, I have my quarrels with Craig Counsell, Sean. You know that. I've made that quite clear. I've not been shy about it. But when it comes to this bullpen, man, I put absolutely no blame on Craig Counsell at all. You can't pitch Ryan Rollison and Jacob Webb every day, guys. You can't.
Right.
Somebody's got to come in. Somebody else has to come in.
Thornton.
He was hoping against that last game against Baltimore. He was hoping that Ferguson could come in and somehow, even if it may be a miracle, get 3 outs. But these guys just are not capable of it, and there's nothing Craig Counsell could do about it. I mean, Sean, those long, those are the ones that hurt the most. Those long, tedious games where they're just trying to scrape a run across home plate so they can win the game 1-0 or 1-2. And it's a 2.5-hour game. You're like, oh my God, this has been nothing but like drama. And then the reliever comes in and gives it up like that in 2 seconds. 2 seconds, gives up the entire game. Like, but Sean, at this point, what can Craig Counsell possibly do? What can he do? There's nobody there.
And Erica, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up because
that was a catch.
Again, they didn't the announcers again didn't understand. I didn't understand it. Like if it's fan interference, that's fine. The fan interference, you're out. The ball fell into his glove. Like my mind is so blown by the calls that are happening not only against the Cubs but around the league with like little to no explanation because they don't make sense. And that ball yesterday that play made 0 sense to me. None.
If the umpire thought that it bounced off the wall, therefore it's a foul ball, fine.
Right.
But you reviewed it. And you clearly saw that it did not bounce off the ball. And Seiya Suzuki caught that ball. Like when you zoom in on those replays, you're looking for the ball to change trajectory in its flight. So if it bounces off the wall, it'll change the direction that it's going. It didn't. Clearly Seiya Suzuki caught that ball. And if it was fan interference, if that was their excuse, their reasoning, then that's an out, right? I don't understand. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, when you're a Cubs fan, you're obviously a little bit biased, but I feel like all these close plays that the Cubs have had this season have gone against them. Every single one of them have gone against them. Is it just me? Sean, you remember that play? You remember that play at home plate earlier in the season that was clearly, clearly an out. Clearly, I think it was Carson Kelly, was it? I don't know if it was Meyer or Kelly. Clearly tagged the guy out at home plate, and they reviewed it for 20 minutes, and they still called him safe.
Yep.
You remember? I mean,
I do.
It's like, guys, what's the point of the replay?
Replay if you're not going to get it right.
Yeah, what's the point of challenging this?
Man, it's been rough. Those last 2 games are rough, and I didn't even see. I didn't even take a gander. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped for the All-Star break, and I'm so pumped for a couple of reasons. Because Kyle, you just kind of touched on it. As Assad, who we're going to talk about before we get into how great PCA has been, I do want to get into the pitching staff just a little bit, because there is some like enigmas going on, anomalies, I should say, going on, not enigmas, an anomaly, especially when you look at Shota Imanaga, because on the surface, if you're watching him pitch, especially yesterday, high traffic, high pressure innings, he was able to get around it. And when it comes to Shota, and I know one of our best Cubs community members, Erica, you're not the biggest fan, and you're always teetering with him, and that's fine, because when you go inside the numbers, it is kind of crazy. He leads baseball in runs prevented with runners on base. This was through his start yesterday. He's got a 2-run lead on anybody. Now, when you look at that, that's holding runners on and not allowing them to advance while they're on base. He's number 1 in baseball. His numbers are crazy, because when you start getting into it, you look at his strikeout rate. It's 24.1%. Major league average, 22.5. So he's a little bit above that. Then you look at major league average for walks is 8.9%. He's 6.3. He's well below that. You know, like it says, we're taking a look under the hood. Then when you start getting into his overall numbers on the season, 108 innings pitched, 105 Ks, 27 strikeouts, 417 earned run average, 112 whip, and 8.59 strikeouts per 9 innings. When you look at that as a whole, you say, holy crap, that's not that bad. It's pretty good. And that 417 earned run average is based on those, probably would be a lot lower if he didn't have those 3 starts where he just got lit up like a Christmas tree and gave up 13 home runs, or 15 home runs, whatever it was. You can clearly see he's better on the road than he is at home. These are his splits. I took him off of Fangraphs this morning. So he's clearly better on the road. He's clearly not a pitcher for Wrigley Field, as the numbers don't lie. But as we continue to move along, before we move on to the next person that's returned, and that would be Matthew Boyd in the rotation, Kyle, I don't know where I am with Shota, but I know we need him this year. And when you look at some of these numbers going into the season, and runners prevented, and you see his numbers, strikeout percentage is above average. His strikeout to walk percentage, on the other hand, has taken a little bit of a hit because of that bad month that he had. So in modern baseball analytics, between 17 and 20% strikeout to walk rate is considered solid baseline. 20% is considered great. 25% is considered elite. Coming into the first half, as he closes out with his last start yesterday, he is at 17%. So it's kind of skewed a little bit, when you look at the overall numbers. And when you go into Fangraphs and you kind of look at that bad stretch that he had, that bad stretch really brings him down. So when you look at all this stuff and you put it all in a barrel when it comes to Shota Imanaga, what are your thoughts? And I guess the main question is, if he continued doing exactly what he's been doing since the beginning of the year, and this is who he is, A, do you trust him in a playoff series? And B, do you think he can continue to keep this rotation afloat to get us to a playoff series, to stay in the wild card?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I trust Shota Imanaga. And it's not necessarily because I think Shota Imanaga is the best pitcher in the world. It's because Shota Imanaga is the best pitcher left. So right now, yes, I trust Shota Imanaga. And to be honest with you guys, I know this is going to sound crazy, Sean. I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't mind the runners on base. You know why? Because what I think has happened to Shota Imanaga is at the end of the day, guys, he's a 93, 94 mile per hour fastball guy. He's not a flamethrower. He has to be very meticulous with his pitches. He has to hit his location. He's not a guy who can just throw the ball right by you. And I think what happened to Shota Imanaga is, it's year 3 in the majors for him and in the United States of America. I think he's adjusting. I think instead of giving up home runs to really good hitters, because he knows when he throws his pitches in the strike zone against really good hitters, if they get a hold of one, it's going to be out of the park. That's just who Shota is. I think he's reverted to allowing a couple walks here and there, pitching around guys, making people swing at bad pitches. If they don't, then he puts them on base. But it's better than a 3-run home run, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we rather Shota put those stars on base, the guys who like Alonso, the guys who just hit home, every ball they get hit is a home run? Wouldn't you rather him pitch around those guys? Maybe he gets a edge of the zone strike. Maybe he doesn't, and it ends up being a walk, and then he strikes out the next guy because the next guy doesn't have the same power. That's, for me personally, I think that's what Shota's doing. I think he got to the point where they kept hitting home runs off of him, and he's like, you know what? I got to stop pitching strikes to these home run hitters. I'm going to start pitching around them. And he's going to, when you do that, guys, the walks are going to go up. But you know what? I'd much rather have Shota have 2 men on base with 2 walks in an inning than a guy get on base with a hit and then get the guy behind him in a home run, 2-run home run. I would take that Shota all day, every day over the Shota Imanaga, who, like you said, Sean, gave up 13 home runs in 2.5 starts. Like, I would much rather see the Shota we saw yesterday. And yes, is Shota ever going to be a guy who puts zeros across the board? And probably not. He's always going to give up a couple runs. But like that game, for instance, yesterday, guys, the Cubs could have won that game. It's not Shota. If you don't score a run, you're not going to win. That's just the way it goes. This team, Sean, you've said it a million times in the podcast yourself. They have to win by their bats. If this team is going to win any playoff series, anything, it has to be the offense that carries them through. What happens, you saw it yesterday, guys, when the Cubs face a really good pitcher and their bats are just not hot and they're not scoring runs. They're going to lose every game, 2-0, 3-0. Especially when you got guys like Shota Imanaga pitching. Yeah, he's going to give up a couple of runs, but it's the offense's job to pick him up and score runs. That's their job. And let's face it, guys, when you talk about what the Cubs did this offseason, they didn't put $325 million into the pitching staff. They put it into the bats. So the bats have to win. The bats have to be what wins these playoff series or World Series. If God forbid we even mention World Series, if it's going to happen for the Chicago Cubs, it's going to have to be the offense. And I think Shota kept them in there last night, and he gave them a hell of a chance. And the Cubs couldn't score. And that's no disrespect to Cubs, because Hunter Green, you knew with that one game he pitched, because he'd only pitched one game this season, 21 ERA or whatever he had. You knew it. The second you saw that, you're like, oh, that means, you know what that means? He's going to be at home against the Cubs, and he's going to pitch the best game he's ever pitched in his entire life, because he got his ass whooped in his first start. And he's going to come out here to prove something. He's going to come out and be like, that is not me. That was just me getting back into form, back into baseball shape. Now I'm the Hunter Green you guys all remember. And I knew it was going to happen. I said it to Bruce when the game started. Knew it was going to happen. But Sean, to answer your question, it doesn't matter if people like Shota or not. It doesn't matter what you think of him. I know he has this inconsistencies, but right now he's your ace by default. Whether you like it or not, he's your ace. You hope that when Edward Cabrera comes back and when Matthew Boyd starts getting really ramped up and gets more innings, you'd hope that those guys could be right there in line with Shota Imanaga. But at the end of the day, guys, there is no ace on the Cubs roster right now. They're all gone. Ben Brown was an ace. He's gone. Cade Horton was an ace. He's gone. Justin Steele has been an ace in the past. He's gone. This is what they got. And I would say shame on the Cubs for not having a backup plan, but you can't have a backup plan for 17 pitchers on the IL, guys. There's no backup plan for that. You don't have 750 pitchers in your organization. There's nothing you could do. I mean, John, imagine if we had a starting rotation, your first 3 going into a playoff series are Cade Horton, Ben Brown, and Justin Steele, and your bullpen is Riley Martin, Daniel Palencia, Jacob Webb. I mean, you're talking about a pretty damn good pitching staff. Yeah. There's just if the Cubs are going to continue to be the organization that doesn't want to trade away their prospects, they don't want to spend a ton of money. This is what you're going to get, guys. You're going to get middle of the road type guys. And Erica put it in the chat earlier. Jed Hoyer loves his 6 ERA guys. Yeah, these are the signings you're going to get. You're going to get the Drew Pomerantzes. The Cubs are not going to trade for Mason Miller, guys. It's not going to happen. Right. They just don't do that. They don't do that.
And if you think about it, Shota over his last 6 starts is rocking a 2.81 earned run. He is getting consistent. He's not walking a lot. He's striking out a lot, and we just got to hope that continues and he can keep us in ball games. With the Cubs' second half of their schedule, after this All-Star break, it's not that tough. The thing that does suck is there won't be a trade in Minnesota or Detroit ahead. So it looks like you're going to open up possibly after the All-Star break against Joe Ryan, and then game 6 after the All-Star break would be against Tariq Skubal. So out of those 6, you want to go 4-2. You might have to win in between those 2 starters, which sucks because you want to be able to show you can get to aces and beat them, and get them off the bump. But they have throughout the year. I agree.
Obviously, yesterday it did not look good against Hunter Green, and he's going to have those games where he just embarrasses you. But for the most part, the Cubs have actually been one of the best teams in baseball and at making the best pitchers in baseball look pretty average. I mean, guys, you guys remember the start against Christopher Sanchez before he went on his 55 innings without allowing a hit, whatever he did? Yeah. Do you guys remember Mason Miller was on, I think, a 35 inning streak without allowing a run, and then the Cubs blew him up? I think they had
he's got a 650 earned run average versus the Cubs, 0.7 versus the rest of the league.
Yeah, and everything they hit against Mason Miller was hit hard. Everything. The Cubs are really good against fastballs, man. They are. The one thing where the Cubs excel where other teams don't is those guys who throw 103, 104 miles per hour, 102 miles an hour, that they have to use their other pitches against the Cubs because the Cubs can hit fastballs. They can hit fastballs. That's one thing they're really, really good at. But
except for yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of his off-speed stuff was the stuff that was really confusing the Cubs. I mean, you saw that strikeout to Conforto that just made him Conforto laid off one of the best pitches I've ever seen in my life, and the Reds challenged it, and it was a ball. Conforto laid off of it, and I'm like, man, that missed the zone by and then the next pitch was in the dirt, and he swung at it. I'm like, what? But that's the Cubs struggle with the off-speed stuff. They've shown it. That's when all their batting average started to go down when the league started to catch on that the Cubs are not good against breaking balls. That's when the Cubs started to really struggle. Now they have to adjust, and they have, and they look a lot better as of late. But at the end of the day, you guys, the Hunter Greens and the Tariq Skubals and Alt Mason, these guys are who they are for a reason. The reason they are popular, the reason their names are, the reason they're talked about in national media is because they're the best pitchers in the world, and you're going to look bad sometimes against those guys. It's okay. There's just, Sean, and I talked about this a lot last week on the show, but what can you possibly do? I mean, what are the Cubs? There's 3 different options. I mean, you can go trade for 19 pitchers and rebuild the entire staff and make a run of the World Series. You can go bargain shopping like they did last year with the Michael Sorokas and hope that some of these guys come back healthy. Maybe you get a Ben Brown in August. Or you can just continue to do what you're doing, playing meaningful games in August, sell some tickets, and start playing for 2028 if there's a lockout next year. That's it.
If there's a lockout. Well, we got a couple of other guys that we have to look to see if this patchwork rotation can stay together. One, which is Erica's favorite, will be on the bump tonight. And I'm not gonna delete you. I'm gonna put you up. Javier Assad, since being called up from AAA, 30 innings pitched, 21 hits, 9 earned runs, 267 earned run average, a .93 whip. And I'm going to get your thoughts on both of these guys, because since Matthew Boyd has come back from the DL, he has been the man. 3 starts, 2-0, 15 innings pitched, 1.72 earned run average. And like it says, Northside tough, man. He's battling through some things, but he's making it work. And the Cubs, this patchwork rotation, Kyle, they are making it work. Okay. The thing is, and the thing that sucks is these guys aren't built for longevity. So they're being pulled in the 5th inning. Usually you can get 6 1/3, 6 2/3, 7 innings out of Shota. Pitch count was a little high because he had high traffic yesterday and a lot of stressful innings. It was also like 100 degrees and they were dying out there. So there's exceptions to the rule, but you're getting mostly 5 innings out of your starters. It's also taxing your bullpen a ton back to back, especially when you don't have a ton of days off in between these series. So with Boyd, Assad, Shota staying who they are, maybe what we're going to talk about here shortly, maybe making a trade for another starter and a reliever in the bullpen. Do you think that this starting staff, we'll get into the pen in a minute, but the starting staff can stay together? Maybe we get Ben Brown back. Maybe it doesn't look like we're getting Justin Steele from what I'm hearing, which I was reading doesn't make a lot of sense because he appears to be healthy, appears to be ready to go, but the Cubs are just holding him back for some reason. Do you have a feeling in your mind, in your heart, that these guys have enough in the tank and they can get it done? I personally think they're going to keep them in contention. Can they keep up with these other playoff teams? I don't know. I don't know. The bats are going to have to do it. They're going to have to keep up this, 5.5, 6 runs a game type stuff.
I'll tell you this. For me personally, and Erica says, Boyd has been excellent since being back too. For me personally, guys, he's the most important, because we've seen times where Matthew Boyd truly does look like an ace. And you look at that 1.72 ERA. I know it's only 3 games, but if he could be the Matthew Boyd that made the All-Star game last year, the first half Matthew Boyd, which is setting up to kind of help him out, right, Sean? Because he hasn't pitched a lot. And that's what makes or breaks Matthew Boyd. Like you said, Sean, I just don't think he's built for longevity. I don't think he's a 200+ inning guy. But the fact that he's had so much time off, if Matthew Boyd could continue to pitch like he did early on last year, he has these 3 starts, and he could fill that ace role. And like, once again, guys, I'm not talking about a guy who's going to go to the playoffs and not allow a single run for all 3 or 4 or 5 starts. That's not a guy who can just keep you in there 2-3 runs through 6-7 innings. I think he can. I think this pitching staff can keep him afloat. And Sean, if you talk about the Javier Assad numbers, I think Javier Assad, if he didn't have that bad start, you're talking, that's like a sub-2 ERA. You take away that really, really bad start he had. That's like a sub-2 ERA there. Javier Assad's been absolutely amazing. And Sean, you and I talked about this on the Northside a long time ago. This guy should always have been a part of this. He never should have been sent down. Jordan Wicks never should have pitched for this team. It always should have been Javier Assad. And we've talked about it a million times. Since Javier Assad has pitched in the majors 3-4 years ago, he's been awesome. Like, I don't understand what it is about the Cubs. I feel like they just feel like he's on the brink of imploding at any given moment, but he hasn't done it outside of a couple starts here and there, which happens to every good pitcher in the world. You guys saw what happened to Christopher Sanchez the other day. The guy's leading the league in Cy Young voting, and he got blown up for like 9 runs in 3 innings. Like, that happens. Those games that happens to everybody in the world. Everybody has bad days at work.
Javier just happened to Mizorowski, Kyle.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. But when you talk about this, Sean, you call it a patchwork rotation, this thing they've kind of duct taped together here.
Yeah.
You add an ace to the front of that rotation, and it looks a lot better. Listen, I know Cubs fans are waiting for the Colin Rays to fall off a cliff, but they're just not doing it. Like, these guys have continued to hold down the fort. If you can get the best out of Shota Managa, you can get the best out of Matthew Boyd. And then you can use Colin Ray and Jameson Taillon, who seems to be coming back healthy at some point here soon, to just eat up innings for you, so you don't have to pitch guys like David Peterson. Yes, I think they could keep this team in it long enough so if they go and get an ace at the front of their rotation, and then you're talking about going to the playoff series with your ace, say it's Freddie Peralta. I will just pick a name. Then you got Shota Managa and Matthew Boyd. I think they can give some teams some trouble in the playoffs. The problem with the Cubs is you're just waiting for Ray to get hurt, or Managa to get hurt, or Matthew Boyd to get hurt again, or Javier Assad to get hurt, or they're going to bring some Freddie Peralta over here from the Mets, and he's going to get hurt. Like, that's the problem. Is how if you're the GM of this team, how much do you invest into the trade deadline? How much do you go? How all in do you go? Because if you do go get that Freddie Peralta, and you're like, all right, I feel like when we're kind of back in it now, right? We stand a chance again. And then he gets hurt, then you're right back to where you were before the trade deadline. You just lost a bunch of prospects. That's the problem, is they're barely hanging on by a thread because of all the injuries. They're barely hanging on. Sean, I don't know about you. You correct me. Have you heard anything about Riley Martin or Daniel Palencia? Like, do we know anything about these injuries at all?
I think Riley Martin went on the 60-day DL. I haven't heard anything about him, but I do believe Palencia and Tyon are due back after the All-Star break.
But Riley Martin's 60-day stint was retroactive, so he should be like what, 10, 15 games left on the IL before he's eligible to return. But I haven't heard about him ramping up, pitching. I haven't heard any playing catch, nothing at all. Daniel Palencia, Hunter, not that it matters, but Hunter Harvey. I haven't seen one article anywhere about him getting. Is he getting healthier? None of these guys. None of them. The Cubs have not said anything about any of these guys. I just don't. How many? I think they're 2 more injuries away, which is crazy because they've already sustained 17. But they're 2 more injuries away from this. You can't fix this thing. There's nothing. Like if they lost Colin Ray today, where do you go?
Well, Kyle, if we're being realistic, no front office can reasonably, and we've talked about
No, it's impossible. This is
plan
impossible.
for this kind of pitching devastation.
It's impossible. As a matter of fact, you could make an argument. That the Cubs have done a pretty damn good job of trying to make up for these injuries.
I'm going to give them a grade, and hopefully as we go through all this, I would like to get a grade from you too. Up to the All-Star break. I know there's 2 games left, but 2 games, if they lost both, they'd still be 8 games over 500 with a patchwork rotation, a patchwork bullpen, pulling guys bagging groceries off the market and bringing them in. So just as we talk about this, if just kind of keep these things in mind. But, at some point, and this is where I've always been with this team, at some point it's like surviving isn't enough, and the Cubs cannot just ask for patchwork rotations and bullpens to carry them into a playoff contender, or through the rest of the season. And that's been my thought. Let
me ask you a question before you get in the next segment.
Yeah.
The Cubs are 10 games over 500 right now, right? 10 or 11? Right. All right. John, if none of these injuries are sustained, and obviously you're going to sustain some injuries, right?
But not at this severity level.
Yeah, but you can't possibly know which. Like if they did only sustain 2 injuries, like the Cardinals have had two pitchers this season on the IL, 2 all season. The Cubs have had 17. If they didn't sustain, if there was only 2 pitchers that were injured all season for the Cubs, just like the Cardinals have had, what's the record?
They're probably closer to.
I mean, they certainly win that game, and they win the game in Baltimore, right? Like where Ferguson hit the 2 batsmen, and then those guys both came around to score. They probably win that game, right? Because that's probably Palencia or Riley Martin or somebody else pitching. Like those games right there, the games they've lost by just having bad relief pitching. There's just nothing. They have nothing left. What's the record? 18 games over 500?
I think they're closer to where they were when they were 20 games over 500. I mean, if you're doing this and maybe the bullpen isn't as beat up as it is too, because they've lost everyone there. You're probably closer to 20 games over 500, and you're probably, if not leading the division, within a couple games of the Brewers, and this thing's coming down the stretch.
Sean, if you're 20 games over 500 right now, you'd be the best team in baseball.
The Brewers are 22 games over 500 right now?
I mean, but like, let's say that like the Dodgers are they're leading the league with 23 games over 500.
Let's take a look at the standings.
So you're in the conversation of best team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, the Brewers are 59-34, and the Dodgers are 61-34, and then you have 54-34 for the Braves. So 59.
So you're right there. If you're 20 games over 500, you are literally right. That's who's had the toughest schedule. That's basically what that comes down to. You're talking about 3 or 4 games here or there. You're talking about who's played the toughest schedule to this point, or who's gotten the bad pitching matchups as opposed to Sean. I talked about this to you the other day. I saw this was a couple weeks ago, but there was something on Instagram that said the Brewers had faced the 1, 2, 3 of starting rotations in all the series they've played twice. The Cubs had done it 14 times. 14
the Cubs
times.
do it every time.
1, 2, and 3. And the Brewers have gotten them twice. So that's the difference between the Brewers leading the division by 2 games or the Cubs leading by 2 games. It's just the matchups.
And Kyle, as you say that, it's funny because when we were going into that series against the Brewers, I asked this question. I said, why is it every time we play the Brewers, we face their 1, 2, 3? It's almost as if they get it set up for us or it's just some crazy anomaly that every time we face them, it has to be.
Well, no, because
There's top 3 pitchers. It's crazy.
Well, no, because it's not just the Brewers. It's every team the Cubs play. Every team the Cubs play, they get their best pitcher. Every single time the Cubs play a series, they get the best pitcher in the rotation. Every single time. The Brewers never do. They never do. They never get anybody's best. That's the difference between if the Cubs were healthy, if the Cubs and Brewers were both healthy and the Cubs were back by a game and a half, 2 games right now, that would be the difference right there. The fact that the Cubs have gotten every single stud on every rotation and the Brewers haven't. But the point I'm trying to make is if this team's healthy, if this pitching staff's healthy, which it's not, and that ship has sailed, so it doesn't matter. But once again, and I hate to say this because I have so many problems with Jed Hoyer, but if this team had been healthy all season, you guys, you're talking about best team in baseball conversation, then he did it. He built the team, a good team. He built them exactly the way he wanted to. What he advertised to us, hey, if Cade Horton's here, if Justin Steele's here, if Ben Brown's here, they're all healthy. This is one of the best teams in baseball. He wasn't lying. Because if these guys were all healthy, you're talking about what probably would be one of the best teams in baseball, a team that's going to make a damn good playoff push and nobody wants to play. But
and let me talk about the flip side of that coin. Because as we say, the starting rotation on its surface, and maybe Daniel Palencia staying healthy would have been great. But we have to talk about the players that haven't been hurt, but are now maybe hurt, but have been here for a good part, like the Phil Matons. I'd say Phil Maton's 2025 season when healthy has been a bust. Hunter Harvey has been non-existent.
Okay, but that being said, let's
just go through the list really quick. Holby Milner, been pretty good.
No
Jacob
complaint.
Webb, roller coaster ride.
Up and down.
Caleb Thielbar is now past his prime. The guy is completely fallen off a cliff. I don't think we're talking enough about how bad Caleb Thielbar has turned into this season. It's almost like at 39 years old, his career is over. It's time for him to move on. If this bullpen was healthy and these pitchers that they signed were 100% healthy, do you still believe in this bullpen being able to get the Cubs over this hump? Because I'm kind of on the fence there.
Well, let me explain. This is going to give me a minute here because this is going to be first and foremost. We talked about it with numerous. Alex Pat talked about it numerous times on the show. The bullpen in baseball is just very fickle, guys. You just never you guys when they signed Phil Maton. I'm like, oh my God, we just got the guy with one of the best off-speed pitches in all of baseball. This guy's amazing. He's awesome. That's what Jed Hoyer was thinking. That's what Craig Counsell was thinking. Yeah, hell yeah, we got this changeup is unhittable. And then he just hasn't been that guy. You can't predict that. You can't foresee that. Nobody has any ideas. That's happened to the Cubs numerous times, guys. Boxberger. How many bullpen guys have been great for the Cubs, and then they sign him to a second contract, and they end up being terrible? Like that's just baseball. That's the way it works. It's weird. It's a very strange sport. But I'll tell you this. And like Phil Maton to me was probably the best signing they made. Sean, I told you I'm not a huge fan of Jacob Webb. He's always inconsistent. He's always up and down. Yeah. I know Hunter Harvey's had his injury problems, but when he's healthy, he's a damn good pitcher. They knew they had guys like Riley Martin and Jackson Wiggins in the minors. They knew at some point they could probably rely on those guys to come in and eat some innings out of the bullpen. Like, to be honest with you, I liked the plan. And if anything did happen, Sean, like Phil Maton's all of a sudden can't pitch anymore, all of a sudden he just lost his ability to throw pitches.
It's really weird.
You're this far away and you just go get one at the trade deadline, right? But it's not that big of a deal. You're like, that happens to every team in baseball. All the teams in baseball at the trade deadline are like, well, that didn't work out the way we planned, so let's just go get another guy from some other team. We'll make a trade. That's baseball. You expect to make trades at the deadline if you're a contending team. Usually it is the bullpen. Even for the championship caliber rosters, usually it's the bullpen where they're like, well, that didn't work out the way we wanted, so let's go get a guy to replace Phil Maton, because Maton's not the same guy we've watched him be his entire career. But that's baseball, and they could have adjusted. They could have gone on the trade deadline and been like, hey, you know what? We got Palencia, we got Riley Martin, we got Jackson Wiggins, Holby Milner's serviceable for sure, but Thielbar, Maton kind of fallen off. Let's go replace those guys at trade deadline. But you can't replace an entire roster. It's impossible. You can't replace Ben Brown, Justin Steele, Cade Horton, Phil Maton, Daniel Palencia, Riley Martin, Jackson Wiggins. You can't replace the entire team. But if the Cubs had all their starting rotation was healthy, and all these guys were still there, they say they lost one. Say they still had Brown, Steele, and Horton, but they lost Cabrera. He was out for the season. You can adjust, right? You can use Colin Ray, or you go make a trade and add somebody. That's fine. You go get your David Peterson, eat up some innings, sure. But that would be a good spot for the Cubs to be in, where they're like, man, we lost 2 pitchers, or Phil Maton hasn't been working out, so let's go make a trade and go get somebody else. You're not that far off. You're still there in contention, and you're one trade away from being one of the best teams in baseball. But this is you can't make up for this. This is insane. It's insane. And Sean, you and I, credit to 4-Star Chicago Sports, we're the ones who have been talking about Riley Martin and Jackson Wiggins for the last 2 years, and they were right. We were right. These guys were obviously capable of coming in here and helping them out if they needed it. And I think the Cubs were depending on that. I think they're like, oh, Riley Martin. Yeah, I think the Cubs thought in the back of their heads, if Maton doesn't work out, we got Riley Martin, Jackson Wiggins, Ethan Roberts, and one of these guys can come up here and replace them. Or you know who else has not been terrible is Hollowell. Like, the Cubs knew these guys were here. They knew that they could, if anything happened in the bullpen, these guys could come up and fill in the gap. But now they're not here either. They're all gone. I'm saying, for a guy who's been such a harsh critic of the Chicago Cubs, especially when it comes to the pitching and the minor league system, I think the way they built the team to start the season, people are like, well, Maton, well, you can't predict when a guy's career is just going to fall off.
I was excited about Phil Maton.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. Is not Jed Hoyer's fault. He can't have ESP and be like, well, Maton's been one of the best pitchers of baseball for the last 10 years, but I have a feeling if we sign him, he's just not going to be that good anymore. You can't do that. But
I'll say this.
At least you put yourself in a position, Sean, where you were 2 trades away from still being a contender, but now you're not.
I liked all the signings except for Hunter Harvey, and I was very open about that at the beginning of the year. I didn't mind Jacob Webb, I didn't mind Milner, and I didn't mind Maton. I actually really was excited about Maton because he came in with one of the best curveballs in all of baseball, and I was like, all right, man, we solidified getting the pen to him, and then obviously can't foreshadow Cade Horton getting hurt, but at the same time, now we have to sharpen up the pencil and figure out some moves. And as someone in the chat said earlier, the Cubs love pitchers with over 6 earned run averages. So let's get into some bargain basement deals that the Cubs could possibly make. And I want to get your thoughts on some of these guys. And I'm going to go over this this stat in baseball because it's the skill interactive earned run average, the Sierra. So these are some names that are available, that could be available to the Cubs. Obviously, high earned run averages, but then you get into their Sierra. Their Sierra isn't that bad. And when you get into Sierra, it's an advanced baseball statistic that measures pitchers' true performance by removing external factors they cannot control, such as the team's defense, luck, ballpark factors. It evaluates how well the pitcher prevents runs based purely on individual skill set. So it differs from other stats, unlike traditional earned run average. It separates, the quality of the fielding behind them compared to similar advanced metrics like fielders, independent pitching, and stuff like that. It accounts for batted ball profiles, ground balls, fly balls, pop flies, line drives rather than strikeouts and walks, so on and so forth. So if you look at some of these names under the radar Cubs trade possibilities, and you say, some of these might be good if you can get them in Wrigley Field. And now I haven't got into some of these guys to see if they're ground ball pitchers or not. But I'll tell you 2 names that really stick out to me were the 2 names on Colorado in Tanner Gordon and Kyle Freeland. I wouldn't mind either of those getting a crack in a low potential deal to try and get him in to help this bullpen just a little bit. When you look at this list, Kyle, and you said if you had to make a low-end trade, would you say, not so much? This is just more garbage off the scrap heap that we're taking from other teams. Or you think maybe we give these guys a crack, especially a Jack Perkins, who, if you take away the external factors, have a 340 earned run average. How would you feel about any of these guys? Or maybe even a Joe Ryan, Travis Adams deal with Minnesota, where you say, there's a lot of external factors behind him, but if this guy gets a good defense behind him, he could be a solid piece in this bullpen. What do you think of a couple low-end moves maybe to try and rebuild this pen and stop going after these Wolfords and these Tyler Fergusons, these guys who are just not that good at Major League Baseball pitchers?
Well, I like it, and let me tell you why. we just talked about this. The Cubs need to add a lot of pitching. Not you guys.
Mhm.
It'd be one thing if you just lost Cade Horton, then you're a Freddie Peralta away from being a contender, right? If the only guy you lost was Cade Horton, but they've lost everybody, so they're going to have to add a stud like Joe Ryan, Sean, like you said, and a couple of these guys right here.
Right.
And I know people keep on complaining about the 6 ERA guys that he keeps adding, but right now, guys, there's just not over the last month, guys, there just hasn't been a lot of teams willing to trade because so many teams are so close to the wild card. There, if there was a guy with a 2.5 ERA in free agency, he'd be pitching for somebody already. This is what's left on the market. That's why he's adding these guys, because that's all that's left. He's gonna have to add, Sean, like 2 of these guys that you're talking about, like Kyle Freeland and Tanner Gordon. He's gonna have to add like 2 of these guys, and then also add 2 studs. So you got to add like 2 of those guys, and then you got to go add like a Freddie Peralta and Mason Miller. And then you're talking about a team who, when you start to get a couple guys back healthy here and there, like a Riley Martin, maybe Jackson Wiggins comes up, something. Then you're talking about a team that's starting to get back to contention, and they actually have a legitimate pitching staff. But I think that right now, if the Cubs wanted to compete for World Series, even to be in the conversation, they have to add at least 4 pitchers. That's just me. You have to have at least 4. You need 2 bullpen guys, probably 3, and you also need a starter, bona fide starter. But here's the problem: is how much of the farm system, how much of the future are the Cubs willing to lobby or part with in order to stay in contention? Because
that is my question.
You guys, if you want to add those 2 studs, the Mason Miller and the Freddie Peralta, on top of the 2 guys, Sean, like those guys right there, Sean, you just showed, the Cubs are going to trade the prospect the Cubs would trade for those guys, you would never have heard of.
Right.
Like, you may think to yourself, like, man, another prospect comp. It'll be a guy in single A who probably has potential long down the road. A guy like Christian Hernandez, a guy where they'd say when this guy is a grown man, he's 22, 23 years old, he's going to be really good. But right now he's 19 and you're not going to see him for the next 4 years. So you wouldn't even know who that was. Like the same as the trade they made for David Peterson. Most people don't even know who that prospect is. But when you talk about, like, if you want to add a Joe Ryan or Mason Miller, like Erica said in the chat there, then you're talking about the Jefferson Rojas's, the Pedro Ramirez's, the Ethan Conrad. These are the guys where these teams, that's what they're going to ask for. They're going to be like, hey, we're giving you Joe Ryan. We don't want your 28th ranked prospect. We want 3 of your top 10. That's what you're going to have to give up for that type of guy. So, like I said, it's tough because we don't know the extent of the injury. Sean, if I knew exactly when Palencia was coming back, if I knew what
Ben Brown,
or exactly how Justin Steele is going to contribute to this team, is going to be a bullpen guy, is he not going to pitch at all? Riley Martin, if I knew when he was coming back, how they felt about his arm, is he getting healthier? Is this something that's going to be a long-term injury? If I knew the answer to those questions, if I was Jed Hoyer and I had all that information in front of me, I would know exactly how to approach the trade deadline. But as Cubs fans, we don't know any of this stuff. We don't have no idea. If none of these guys, if they're like thinking in the back of their heads, Palencia is going to get shut down for the rest of the season. This guy, whatever he's dealing with, is just keeps nagging and nagging and nagging. He cannot pitch 2026. And the same with Riley Martin, and the same with Justin Steele. Then I would not be parting ways with a ton of my farm system, because you're not going to win a World Series. But if they truly believe that, like, Jackson Wiggins could be a starter by come September, and Riley Martin's going to be back healthy, and Daniel Palencia looks really healthy, and all these guys are coming back, and Justin Steele could be that long inning relief guy like Ben Brown once was, or like Javier Assad once was. He could be the guy, if your starter gets in trouble, he can come in the 5th and pitch all the way to the 8th. Then I'd be more willing to part ways with some of this farm system and make a run at it now. But we don't know. As Cubs, I'll tell you this, Sean, your mentality when you put that little graphic together there, those guys you just talked about, that's what they did with David Peterson, guys. They looked at his ERA, they were like, this guy has an ERA over 6, but when he's pitching into ground balls, and you guys, they showed you the statistics on the screen the last time David Peterson pitched. So like, man, when he's getting that high ground ball rate, he's going to look amazing on the Cubs, because they have the best defense behind him of any defense in baseball. He's going to look phenomenal. His 6 ERA is going to become 3.5, and that's a number 3-4 starter in rotation. Like, that's a good guy to have. That's Sean, what you just showed, an amazing job putting that together. These are the moves the Cubs are going to have to make. Just to stay afloat, not to win the World Series. You make those moves that you just showed, Sean. Stay in contention. You had those 2 guys you just showed. They're in the same spot they are now, but they don't have to worry so much about injuries anymore, because now they have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. You make those moves right there that you just showed. You had two of those guys to stay afloat. On top of those two guys, so the better than staying afloat.
I'm going to throw another one out there for you, Kyle.
Yeah, let's see it.
Those two moves, and I didn't make up this trade. This has been hot and heavy all over the internet. Mock trade for the Cubs. I don't know where I am with it because I don't know where I am with giving up top players in the organization. But if you added those two younger guys, and this mock trade has been heavily prevalent, Chapman and Gray, and when you look at Sonny Gray right now, he's rocking a 254 on run average, 95 innings pitched, 24 walks, high strikeouts. You go to Chapman's 12 walks and 27 innings, 7 earned runs, 1 home run, 228 earned run average. You're really bolstering your team. Now you're giving up Pedro Ramirez, and if this was the actual trade, I'm probably okay with it because I don't know that Boston would actually pull this trade off. You probably have to add a little bit more.
If that was the trade, I'm doing that before the question comes out of your mouth. I'm doing that. That's a no-brainer. But here's the problem. That the Red Sox acquire, it would look a lot different than that, guys. You're talking about one of the best bullpen arms in all of baseball in Aroldis Chapman, and a guy who's been a damn good, consistent pitcher in Sonny Gray for a long time, who's having another good year. I promise you, where it says Red Sox acquire, underneath that line, you would see the name Matthew Shaw. I promise you that, because the Red Sox have wanted Matthew Shaw for a long time.
Now, let me ask you this.
Very long time.
To pull this off, would you add Matthew Shaw to this trade?
Ah, man, it's such a tough conversation
tough,
to have
dude.
when you're not inside the building and you don't know like what's going on with these injuries. I mean, Sean, let's say this. I love Matthew Shaw, and I think Matthew Shaw should be an everyday player for the Cubs. I would replace Ian Happ with Matthew Shaw right now, if I was the Chicago Cubs. I would have no problem being like, hey, Happ, we're going to trade you. We love you, but Matthew Shaw is good enough to play left field, and he can be in this rotation every day. The problem I have is I don't know where the Cubs stand with Matthew Shaw. To me, it seems to me that they don't really want him to be a mainstay in the lineup. Like, they don't want him to be an everyday player. They think of more of him as a utility guy. And if that's their opinion of him, and if that's the way they're going to think about him for the rest of his tenure here, then yes, I would include Matt Shaw in a trade and go get some pitching. But if the Cubs' plans for Matt Shaw in the future is to be a part of this lineup every single day in the lineup, no, I wouldn't, because I think Matthew Shaw would be a huge part of your future. If they project right now, we're not going to re-sign Suzuki, we're not going to re-sign Happ, and Matthew Shaw is going to fill one of those spots, I would not trade Matt Shaw, because I think he's going to be an amazing baseball player when he gets a fair crack at it and he's playing every single day. I think he's going to be a top 20 player or top 30 player in baseball. But if they're going to continue to do what they've done with him and they're just wasting his career away by playing him every 5 days, then why not go get pitching?
Why not? Right.
Why not go get pitching? And you guys, one name that should be involved in every trade conversation the Cubs are having, because I'm absolutely done with them, and I know Cubs fans are going to be like, that's a little harsh. I am done with Kevin Alcantara. I don't even know if he holds any trade value anymore because how poorly he's played. But Kevin Alcantara should be involved. Any trade conversations that the Cubs have, Kevin Alcantara should be involved in that conversation. John, have you been impressed? The guy can't run the bases. He has no baseball IQ whatsoever at all.
Yeah, he's kind of disappointed me a little bit, man.
He's the strikeout king of the world. You guys saw him give up when he was playing right field on that ball that was going towards the wall. He gave up on it completely because he didn't want to run into the wall. If this guy can't play defense and he can't run the base paths and he's striking out at 48% in the AAA, then what's the point of him? Get rid of him. And like I said, I don't know if Kevin Alcantara can get you anything in return, because I think other teams have seen this and are like, well, that guy doesn't look that good. But if there are baseball GMs out there who still believe in Kevin Alcantara and still think that he's going to be a good player, I think Kevin Alcantara and Matthew Shaw could get you a damn good haul. I think you're talking about 2 stud pitchers.
Send them to Minnesota for Joe Ryan.
Yeah, if the Minnesota Twins instead of the Cubs, if you give us Matthew Shaw and Kevin Alcantara, you can have Joe Ryan. I would do that. As much as I love Matthew Shaw, I love him. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Someone put in
That's
here
hard.
earlier. They don't know if the Twins are going to trade Joe Ryan. I don't know if they are either, but
I'll tell you this, Sean.
you got to at least kick the tires.
I read an article yesterday, and I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, Sean. I don't know who wrote it, but he said he was quoting the Cubs front office themselves. So he's talked to Jed Hoyer or Carter Hawkins, somebody, the guy who wrote this article. And he said, the Cubs front office does not think there's going to be a ton of pitching available at the trade deadline because so many of these teams feel like they're still in it when it comes to the wild card. And B, even if there is, even if whatever pitchers are available, because there's such few teams willing to trade and there's so many teams that think they're still going to be able to make a run at this thing, that pitching that is available, because it's so few and far between, is going to be insanely expensive. Like the most expensive it's ever been in the history of baseball.
Yeah, it could very well be. And the one thing that sticks out to me, and we talked about this last year, and if the Cubs are serious and you just trade for one starter and you trade for multiple relievers, which would be the trek that I'm on personally.
I think that's the one they're on too, Sean.
Yeah, one front end starter, and then you flip this, because when you get into the playoffs have changed so much over the past couple of years. If you go back I think it was about 5 years ago, you're looking at the bullpen took up about 41% of the innings pitched in the playoffs. That number has risen over the past 5 years from 45% to 50% to 55%. So your bullpen, when you get into that postseason, is taking up the bulk of the innings. Your starters playing the role, getting the ball to the shutdown part of your team. So for me, go get me a Sonny Gray, go get me a Joe Ryan, go get me a Freddie Peralta, and then build that bullpen around Daniel Palencia, because Palencia, from what I heard, from what I was reading, Palencia should be back shortly. In between the All-Star break and the trade deadline is his expected return. It's TBD still from what I read a couple days ago, but he's getting
late
close.
July, early August.
Yeah, so he's getting closer. So you get him back. Now you're getting the ball to Palencia late. Figure out how to get the ball to him late. Add those pieces, and I think you could have something, because I know the inadequacies of this lineup, which we're going to get into here momentarily, has been up and down and inconsistent at times. You know, we watched that roller coaster where it just kind of shrunk and nobody can hit, but now we're watching them again where everyone can hit except for the last 2 days. And, you know, these things are going to happen. Hitters are going to have bad days. It's just what it is.
The Dodgers have scoreless games, guys.
It's just going to happen. It's baseball, dude. The Yankees are one of the best teams in the American League. Then they just lose like 10 out of 12. It happens.
You nailed it. Like, if I'm the Cubs front office right now, if you really want a realistic run at this thing, but you don't want to lose your entire farm system, which they should not, because, guys, we know that guys like Ethan Conrad and Josiah Hartshorn, that should be the future of the Chicago Cubs, because I think they're better than most of the guys on the Cubs. So, like, outside of PCA, maybe Alex Bregman, like the stars, outside of those guys, I think the Hartshorns and Ethan Conrads have much more potential than Ian Happ and Miguel Amaya, and like that should be the future of the Chicago Cubs organization. But I think you're right. I think you go add 2 or 3 bullpen guys, and I'm talking about like really good high leverage guys, and then you hope that Riley Martin and Sean, even if you add 2 guys who are just average, they're not the best in the world, but they're not bad. You're not like holding on for dear life when they come in. At least those 2 guys are giving guys like Jacob Webb and Ryan Rolison and days off. That's part of the reason. I think part of the reason that some of these guys have looked so bad at times is because they're just running out of gas, man.
They're tired.
We're pitching these guys. Jacob Webb, Sean, when he was good, we were pitching him every day, and the Cubs fans are like, "Oh man, he looks bad again." Well, dude, he's pitching every day. Like, I bet you if Jacob Webb pitched every 3 days, he would look really
great.
good for the rest of the season. Same as Daniel Palencia, same as Riley Martin. Like, if you could just add a couple guys to the bullpen, I think your high leverage guys might be here already. You just got to give them some days off. Give them some days off. And then you got to go add that stud ace at the front of the rotation, the guy who's going to go up against Mizrowski in the playoffs, the guy who's going to go up against Yamamoto in the playoffs. And then hope that you get the best out of Matthew Boyd and Shota Minaga in your 2 and 3 spot. and your offense continues to be one of the best offenses in baseball, and I think you do stand a chance in the playoffs. I think maybe not a World Series, but I think you can make it interesting.
But Kyle, too, you think about it, if you had that front end starter, say Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, whoever
Freddie Peralta seems to be the name that's been
his name is ringing a bell again.
We'll say Freddie Peralta.
Say you do that, and playoff series, especially the first round shrinks. You need to win 2 games. So that X traded starter is going to be starting one of those games, and then hopefully maybe you get Ben Brown back, or you give the ball to Shota.
Matthew Boyd continues to look as good as he has.
There you go. You got to also think that your bullpen now includes a Colin Ray, a Javier Assad, and your bullpen is strengthened on the surface.
The Jackson Wiggins.
Yes. So your bullpen will be strengthened on its surface. For me, when I look at the bullpen, I say my position is buy, but buy intelligently. For me, standing pat and not strengthening this bullpen would be a mistake, because I do believe, and I have always believed, that there's a lot of talent on this team. But if you don't fix it, it's going to be too much for the staff to overcome, and they're just going to run out of gas and they're give up 7-8 runs a game. So going into this All-Star break, everyone has a chance to get fresh. This is where Jed Hoyer, in my opinion, should be sharpening up the pencil. And coming out of this All-Star break, how can I help these guys stay fresh, whether it's a Tanner Gordon, Kyle Freeland, and then add a couple of other big names like an Aroldis Chapman or something to strengthen and bolster the bullpen, especially when you look at the numbers of how significantly you want to make noise in the playoffs, how many innings the bullpen needs to eat. And I don't make up the numbers. You can Google them yourself. 50 to 55% of the innings in the playoffs are in your bullpen. That's got to be the strength of your team. It has to be.
And there is some good news for the Cubs when it comes to these injuries, guys. You know that the starting pitching is here. You know that in 2028, Justin Steele and Cade Horton and Ben Brown say they all come back healthy. Right. Say they all come back healthy. You know that the future, when it comes to your rotation, the future looks bright. So you don't have to trade away your entire farm system to go get a pitcher with 5 years of control. You can go get a rental, and he's not going to cost you that much. When you're talking about trading for Freddie Peralta, who's on a 1-year deal, so he's a rental.
He's a rental.
When you talk about making that trade, you're talking about mid-tier prospects: Jonathan Long, James Triantos. You're not talking about Jefferson Rojas, Ethan Conrad. Those guys would not be involved in a rental trade conversation. They would not be involved. They would not be involved. You're talking about giving them 3. You'd give them Jonathan Long, James Triantos, and Pedro Ramirez. And Pedro Ramirez would be the star of that trade, right? That would be the one that pushes the Mets. And it would suck to lose those guys, sure. But guys, you can't just have 900 batting prospects. Yeah, at some point you have to trade some of these guys away, because there's not 28 positions on a baseball field, right? All these guys, I can tell you the guys who I believe are not going to be involved in any trade. Owen Ayers is not going to be involved in any trade, because I think the Cubs believe he is the catcher of the future for the Chicago Cubs. Josiah Hartshorn, Ethan Conrad, Jefferson Rojas. I think those 4 names right there, would be the last guys the Cubs would trade. Those 4 names: Ayers, Hartshorn, Conrad, Rojas. Those would be the 4 guys that the Cubs are like, we do not want to part ways with these guys in any way, shape, or form. You don't need to include any of those guys to go get Freddie Peralta. He's a rental. Sean, if you're going to make a trade for bullpen guys with control, you're talking about like a Mason Miller type trade, where a guy who's like absolutely amazing and he's going to be here for the next 3 years.
Took the words out of my mouth.
You got to pick one of those guys I just said, Sean. Jefferson Rojas, Josiah Hartshorn, Ethan Conrad. One of these guys is going to be leaving. Matt Shaw. One of these guys is going to be leaving the building. If you want to go get Sean,
for a controllable deal, though,
then it's worth it.
For a Mason Miller type prospect or player,
then it's worth it, because you just said 55% of the innings in the playoffs comes out of your bullpen. So then obviously when it comes down to it, guys, when it comes to the playoffs, the bullpen is the most important thing in baseball.
It is.
So, as much as I love Jefferson Rojas, if the Cubs announced today, hey, we're trading Jefferson Rojas for Mason Miller straight up, I would not be upset in any way, shape, or form. And I love Jefferson Rojas. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And of course, it's going to suck to watch him go kill it for some other team somewhere. Yeah, obviously. But if the Cubs could go get a guy who's got 4 years of control and 5 years of control, and he's one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball, and you no longer, that's just like out of sight, out of mind now, right? You don't have to worry about that anymore, because we've been talking about the bullpen for 5 years. If you had that Kenley Jensen, if you had that Aroldis Chapman, if you had that Mason Miller, that guy who you know is going to be in there with Palencia, You got those two in the bullpen, then all you have to do is worry about the 6th inning. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And like Sean, like you said, once you get to the playoffs, you push those asides. I know Erica's just said aside's a starter, don't take him out of the rotation, but you're talking about a 3-man rotation in the playoffs. He's not going to supplant Shota Imanaga and Matthew Boyd, no matter how much you guys like him, because that's Craig Counsell's boys. Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga are his boys. Those are his boys. So if you're talking about rotation of Freddie Peralta, Matthew Boyd, and Shota Imanaga, then you have Javier Assad, Colin Ray coming out of the bullpen, and then you have that Mason Miller that you traded for and Daniel Palencia. You're talking about a much better pitching staff. That is a much, much better pitching staff. But yeah, you're going to lose. There's going to be a guy. Sean, you and I are going to get a notification on our phone before August 3rd, and we're going to go, oh my God, no way. No way.
If
no
it's Jefferson
way.
Rojas, there will be a tear that goes down a tear that goes down my eye. I swear there will be.
I would not be. It would be bittersweet because you'd be like, oh my gosh, we finally have one of those bullpen pieces that it's just like once he comes in, the game is over. The game is done.
Like for me, and I want to move on to the offensive side of this really quick. And I'll let you get the last word. For me, I say one dependable starter capable of pitching in a postseason rotation, 2 durable late inning relievers, but at the same time prioritize player control beyond 2026, protect every top farm system product unless, like you just said, a difference maker becomes available. I don't think the Cubs need to be the loudest at the trade deadline, but they do need to make the right moves. Standing pat to me sends the message that just making the playoffs is enough, and it's not. We're not trying to push the envelope to get to a World Series. Smart move, a measured buying approach, for me gives this team a chance to become something a little bit more. But it has to be smart because, like you said, Hartshorn, Wiggins, Rojas. For me, these guys are untouchable unless you're getting someone under team control, like you stated, a Mason Miller, a Joe Ryan, who's under contract. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I like it. Where I'm at, almost the same thing, Sean. The only thing I'll say is because the future of the rotation is here. It's here. Cade Horton.
Yeah, I agree.
Edward Cabrera is under control whether people like it or not, guys. It doesn't matter how much you like Cabrera. He's here. He's part of this rotation. Whether you can not like it all you want. He is. I
still think Edward Cabrera is going to be something here. I think
he's the new tie-in. He's got to be your 3 and 4 for the next. Tie-in's gone. This is the last year of tie-in's contract. He's gone. Cabrera is your new tie-in. He's your 3 or 4. Then you expect Cade Horton, Justin Steele, and Ben Brown to mix up 1, 2, 3 in some way, shape, or I don't even know how the rotation is going to go, but you expect those guys to be here. So when you go get a starter, just get a guy in a rental. Don't go get a guy that you need. Oh, we need 5 years of control, so we have to give up Matt Shaw and Jefferson Rojas. Don't do that. Just go get a rental, a guy who can come here and pitch for the rest of the season. And Sean, like you said, give you a bona fide starter in the playoffs. And when it comes to the bullpen, I agree with you. Go get 2 or 3. And I love the word you used there. Durable. Make sure they're not guys who suffer a lot of injuries because we can't deal with any more of that shit. Yeah, durable guys who have been healthy. Aroldis Chapman, a guy he's been throwing for 103 miles an hour his entire career, and he's still doing it. A guy like that, give yourself a chance to make a run at a World Series here. Hopefully the Dodgers and Brewers sustain a bunch of injuries, and then by default you become the best team in baseball. Something along those lines. Just give yourself a chance. Make a real run at it. And like you just said, Sean, maybe be the most active team at the trade deadline, but no blockbuster trades.
Yeah,
nothing crazy. Like people are like, oh, could the Cubs be involved in the Mason Miller sweepstakes if the Padres? No, you should not be because that's your entire farm system.
Yeah,
that's what they're going to ask for. And like I said, you guys, I read an article yesterday because pitching is going to be so few and far between at the trade deadline because all these teams think they still have a chance of winning World Series. Pitching is going to be insanely expensive, way more expensive than it's ever been. So if you call it, there's no harm in calling somebody, right, Sean? If you call a team and you're like, hey, what do you guys want for them? And they're like, oh, we want Jackson Wiggins, Jefferson Rojas, and Ethan Conrad. Okay, no thanks. But call everybody. Everybody.
As we flip the page, I just want to say to all the Cub fans, Kyle, you and I, we're diehards. For what they've done, I think this team has earned the opportunity to get some reinforcements.
Sean, they have forced this Cubs lineup, their offensive lineup, guys, has forced the front office's hand.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, the Cubs front office was probably like, you know what? Let's just hope that some of these guys come back healthy. We'll have a fun season. We'll focus on next year. But with what this Cubs offense has done, in particular, and I know, Sean, you're going to talk about it, but what Pete Crow-Armstrong has done and putting this team on his back and being like, we are never out of it as long as I'm on this roster. We're in it. We're going to be in it. What he has done, what this offense has done, they have forced the Cubs, the front office's hand. They forced their hands, man. The Cubs front office can't possibly go call all the offense into a meeting and be like, hey, guys, you know what? We're just going to let the season play out. Oh, man, we're not going to chase. The Cubs offense these guys would be furious. Yeah. You know, for a fact, they're like, hey, man, even with all the injuries we've suffered, go get us a couple of arms and give us a fighting chance here. And we'll go win you a World Series. We're the best offense in the world. Go get, and you guys, I still to this day, and I've said this a million times, Sean, you know that. Bruce, you've heard me say it. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of Alex Bregman. And if he wakes up and he becomes the Alex Bregman that we've come to know over the last 9 years, and you add that to PCA, and I know you guys, I do expect Nico Horner's got to wake up at some point. I don't know what the hell is going on with Nico Horner, but he's never been this bad, ever. He's never in his career been this bad. At some point, Nico Horner has to come back to where he was.
Who he is.
Alex
and it looked
Bregman.
like he was there for about a week, but it just hasn't all clicked back.
You could tell. Sean, he's sweet.
You know what, though? Maybe this All-Star break, maybe this week off, coming up Sunday through till next Saturday when the Twins arrive here in Chicago, maybe this will help him, get a little break, get that mental break that he needs.
I hope so, because they need him. They need him.
Yeah,
they need Alex Bregman and Nico Horner to be better. If they're going to win a World Series, if they haven't had a chance at winning a World Series, those two guys have to be better. They have to be closer to PCA. And if all three of those guys are firing on all cylinders, if Nico Horner, PCA, and Alex Bregman, you're getting the best of all three of them. This Cubs offense is absolutely scary. It's scary. It's if you had the best version of Alex Bregman, the best you're going to get now in his 30s, the best version of PCA and the best version of Nico Horner. And Seiya Suzuki continues to do what he's been doing. This is probably the scariest offense in all of baseball. It's probably more even scarier than the Dodgers.
Yeah, and you want to know the truth is we're hoping that Alex Bregman is going to come back, because we're going to talk about some of the good in the offense. But Alex Bregman, if I had to give my biggest disappointment in the first half of the season, he would probably be it. A career 285 hitter with runners on base. Today's baseball game with 204 plate appearances with runners on base this year and a 214 average. He's left 189 runners on base, trailing only the Cubs left fielder Ian Happ at 196 left on base. These numbers are awful, and if the Cubs offense is truly going to take off, at least Bregman has to be better in these situations.
100%.
100%. Now, there is some really good stuff, though. Michael Busch, probably, he's one of my favorite Cubs. The slug hasn't been there. And, guys, we're getting a show together here. We're trying to work out a date with the voice of the Cubs, Alex Cohen. It's not going to be a live show because weekends are very tough for him. So he'd like to do a recorded show that we're going to put out here. But we're just going to interview him and get all of his thoughts on the first half of the season and going into the second half of the season. That should be coming up here really, really soon. But there are some bright spots. Seiya Suzuki, I know he's an enigma to you, Kyle. One of my favorite Cubs outside of Michael Busch. When you look at his 5 seasons on the Chicago Cubs, I don't know what people want more from Seiya Suzuki, because the guy has been a picture of consistency since he's been on the Cubs. The 2026, obviously, that's his pace for the season. That weighted runs created plus is way above major league average in every year with the Chicago Cubs. When you pile on the fact that people are probably going to be surprised by this next graphic, because I certainly was, Carson Kelly has been just a phenomenal addition over the past couple of years for the Chicago Cubs. When you look at some of his numbers here, among catchers with a minimum 200 plate appearances, 4th in batting average, 4th in WRC plus, third highest OBP. Just not something when I was looking. I knew he was having a good season, but when you really dove into this, and Cody Del Mondo on Cubs beat writer, he put this together when I was reading it the other day, and I was just like, holy crap, I got to get – everyone should know about Carson freaking Kelly. And then you look at just the guy who's just tearing up baseball, and the last where is this? Where do I have his last 76 here? His last 76 games right here. It's no longer, guys, a small sample size. You're looking at PCA becoming a bona fide, not star, but superstar in baseball. Now we're at a half a season, and we're going to do this again at the end of the season so we can get a full, over 125 games of PCA. The thing that I like the most about PCA here, Kyle, is when you look at his first half of last year and you look at his first half of this year, the number one thing that I take away is the base on balls, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. You're talking about a guy that's now over 11% walk. Last year, he was at, I think it was like 4-5%. So the plate discipline is improving. And again, just turning into the superstar. And you look from last year to this year, everything's improved. Runs are down, but the runs are down because last year is in the middle of the lineup. Now he's leading off. So some of these things will be affected. Obviously, RBIs as well. He's more setting the table. But
the runs are also down because the Cubs have three of the top 5 guys in baseball leaving men on base.
leaving men on base. So
if Alex Bregman had been better this year, he'd have more runs than he did last year.
Absolutely. So when you start talking about this Cubs offense, Kyle, and saying that they've been one of the best in baseball, and you're still lacking Michael Busch becoming last year Michael Busch, Alex Bregman breaking out of it, but then you see Seiya's been pretty consistent. Little slump there. We know, little slump. Every player goes through it. This offense still, to me, I don't think it's hit its eclipse for the year. And that's crazy to say because it's been monumental at times.
It has not, Sean. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. First, let me say something about PCA real quick. I love the fact that Crow-Armstrong turned down the home run derby because he likes where his swing is at right now. Yes. I love it. I love that. That's how much this team means to him. Like, this guy could get his face on national television again and become one of baseball's poster childs. And he said, no, I'm good. I like where my swing's at. I don't want to tweak it for the home run derby and mess it all up. Awesome. Amazing that he did that. B, as much as we complain about Alex Bregman, and Sean, you talk about the disappointment. I don't know if you guys heard the recent interview with Crow-Armstrong, but he accredited Alex Bregman with everything. He's like, Bregman told me to step closer to the plate, told me to stand up more upright, told me to change my stance, and after that conversation with Alex Bregman, this is the PCA we've gotten. So if just Alex Bregman just doing that, him being here to me is worth it, because that's the type of shit you'd never see Kyle Tucker do. You would never see that ever. But Alex Bregman is here to coach these guys, and it's working. And he's made PCA probably the best player in all baseball. But Sean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is not. We have not even seen close to guys. Moises Ballesteros is going to come back up here at some point, and after he makes his adjustments. And Michael Conforto is not going to be your everyday DH. It's got to be Moises Ballesteros. And I think when Moises Ballesteros gets up here and he starts playing better, and Alex Bregman starts to look more like Alex. And I'm not saying Alex Bregman needs to be the guy who hit 40 home runs 5 years ago. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying Alex Bregman has to be better than, like, Sean, you just went over the numbers with my runners on base. He has to be better than that. It's got to be better than that. And he's going to be. He's going to be. Michael Busch, he's going to go on a stretch at some point where in the span of a month, he hits 11 home runs.
God, I hope so.
The one PCA, absolute, probably the best player in baseball right now. The one guy who I would just say, just get used to the fact that he's just inconsistent is Seiya Suzuki. And when Seiya Suzuki's good, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. But guys, when he's bad, he's bad. He's bad. And that's just who he is. That's who he is. And I don't expect that to change. I think Seiya Suzuki's always going to be that guy for the rest of his career. I think that's who he is. I think when he goes through his lows, they're low. And when he goes through his highs, they're very, very high. But if
overall,
the rest of
the totality, though, what are your thoughts on? Is this a bat when it comes to Seiya, Kyle? Because I know you've always been both ways with him. As this bat, and Eric asked this question earlier, and I wanted to rewind the tape back to this. is Seiya a guy that you would include in a trade, or can the Cubs definitely? There's no way the Cubs this lineup could survive without him. And would you, based on looking at the 5 years he's been on the Cubs and the numbers he's put up on the Cubs, is this a guy that you're looking at this offseason, you got to resign and make sure he's on your ball club moving forward?
No. I like Seiya Suzuki, and I would keep him this year because if you actually plan on trying to make it run a World Series, I think he's absolutely crucial this year. But if there really truly is a lockout, guys, Seiya Suzuki's going to be 35 by the time he returns. He's already dealt with a ton of injuries his entire career. Every single time the guy does anything, he's limping around. I like Seiya Suzuki a lot. I wish him nothing but the best if he leaves the Cubs, wherever he ends up. I hope he has a great career. But I think Seiya Suzuki, by the time the 2028 season starts after the lockout, his best days are probably behind him, and he's Mr. Inconsistent. I love him when he's good, man. He's amazing, but when he's bad, he is bad. Bruce, we talked about this at the bar yesterday. When his lows are as low as you could possibly get, man. He's like 1 for 39, and then he'll go like 16 for 28, and then he'll go 0 for 25. Like, that's who Seiya Suzuki is. That's who he's always going to be. And to be honest with you guys, and I'm not saying it has anything to do with their skin color or heritage race, but a lot of these Japanese players are like that. They're all very inconsistent. Outside of Otani, you look at Shota Managa, look at Seiya Suzuki, look at who's that kid on Minnesota. It's like that they said was going to be the best hitter in all baseball. When it comes to average, he was going to be the best hitter in all baseball.
A little inconsistent.
They're just inconsistent. That's what they are. They're just those guys. When they come to the United States, they're just very inconsistent. I like Seiya Suzuki a lot. But if you're talking about Sean, they're saying upwards of $22 million a year he wants. He's going to ask for about $22 million a year. No, absolutely not. There's just too much young talent here that's on rookie deals who are cheap that could easily replace him in right field. You talk about a guy like Ethan Conrad, Josiah Hartshorn, Matt Shaw. I'm not. Would it be a drop off offensively? Yeah, probably a little bit, because Seiya Suzuki, when he's good, man, his bat's hot. He's good, man. He's really good. Sometimes he could kind of carry the Cubs.
He mashes, yeah.
He tried to do it yesterday. He tried to do it the day before, but is it replaceable? Yes. And am I giving him $21 million a year with all the injuries he's dealt with, and every single time he tries to catch a ball in the outfield, you're like, oh, don't run to that wall.
Yesterday.
Yeah, you guys, he left that Baltimore game. Did you know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you left that Baltimore game because he slid into the second base and he tweaked something in his leg. Like, that's just what you're going to deal with when it's Seiya Suzuki. This is part of who he is now, man. It's been a long, Sean, you just showed 5 years. I mean, this is who he is. This is not like eventually he'll get, he's
pretty good numbers, though. You can't argue with the overall numbers.
Not at all. There's no argument to be had. You can't, statistics don't lie. I mean, he's obviously a very good hitter in baseball. I think the more his career goes on, the more you're going to see the 20 home runs and the 15 home runs rather than the 32 that you saw there last year. I think his best days are probably behind him. He's only getting older, dealing with injuries. I love Seiya, and I think he's a good dude, and I think he's very important to 2026. But future, no, I don't.
And Kyle, you know how much I love Seiya since he's been a Chicago Cub. I have 25 of his rookie cards. I was ecstatic when the Cubs signed him. But you're right, age is a factor. He's 31 now, so he'll be 33 if they do go into a lockout.
Which is, Sean, almost 100% guaranteed that they're
right.
going to.
And then you have all this young talent in the minor league system that you have to start pushing and moving along. I, unfortunately, for the first time, am going to agree with you on Seiya Suzuki and probably say, yes, I think and Erica, to your question, I would not trade Seiya this year to pitching because I believe, much as Kyle just stated,
it's one step forward, one step back. If you trade Seiya to go get a pitcher, then you got a hole in your lineup.
Yeah, he's way too important to this lineup to get rid of that. And you're right, Kyle.
Like Sean, if Ethan Conrad was ready right now, like say Ethan Conrad was hitting 400 like he was in the Cape Cod League, Wooden Bat League, and he's hitting 400 in AAA right now, would I be willing to trade Seiya Suzuki this year and bring Ethan Conrad up to replace him? Yeah, but
here's
those guys aren't ready. None of those guys are ready right now.
Question from Erica there. What do you think of that?
No, for Skubal for a rental? No. If Skubal had 3 years of control, 100%, yes, I'm doing that. But for a rental, no.
I just think Kyle's right. It's one step forward, one step back, because in order for the Cubs offense to click, Seiya has to be hitting. We saw that with Seiya.
Sure.
When Seiya missed the start of the year, you saw that big gap in the lineup. And then he came back, and it was like this lineup took off. And it took him a few games to get going. But when he's going, this lineup is going. He's part, if not one of the main factors that this team can average 6.5 runs a game. Fair?
Yeah, you guys. Here's the problem: is when you got guys like Miguel Amaya and Dansby Swanson in your lineup because you love their defense. When you're basically saying, and listen, I know Dansby Swanson went on that tear, that run, but for the most part, guys, I think we all know that Dansby Swanson is more the guy he's been for the last 3 years than he was the last 2 weeks, right? When you have those guys in your lineup, you have two guys who are, and no offense, Miguel Amaya, I like him a lot, but let's face it, guys, he's just not an amazing hitter. You need the rest of your guys to pick up that slack. And Seiya Suzuki right now is one of the most important. As a matter of fact, I can make an argument that over the last month, outside of PCA, Seiya Suzuki has probably been the Cubs' best hitter. And I know Sean loves to hear me say that because I'm always giving Seiya Suzuki a hard time. I've never said otherwise. I have always thought Seiya is a great hitter. I just can't do with the inconsistent defense, the injuries. The lows are way too low. And you guys can admit that, right, Sean? You can admit that.
Oh, yeah. No,
his lows
100%.
are insane. Ups and downs. I have never seen anything like Seiya Suzuki. I said it to Bruce yesterday. If his lows were just 25% better, he might be the best hitter in baseball. If his lows were just 25%, if he was this much better when he was in his lows, he would be absolutely amazing. But man, when he goes into a slump, he disappears. He is gone. But Erica, I know you love Scoobo, and you've talked about a lot on this show. The guy's going to ask for probably, I'm going to guess, $550 million. When have you ever seen the Cubs do anything like that in your entire life? When have the Cubs ever given up anybody on their team $400 or $500 million? Tariq Skubal is going to be a Yankee or a Dodger. Yeah, that's what he's going to be, because they're the only two teams. Maybe the Padres, if he's willing to settle for $350 million, but he's going to be one of the highest paid players in all baseball. He's certainly going to be the highest paid pitcher in all baseball.
The thing that's cool is when you come back from the lockout, you're looking at a 31-year-old pitcher. You're not looking at a spring chicken. You're looking at a 31-year-old dude. You know,
if he wants $500 million, I want nothing to do with Scooble.
Yeah, not at 31 years old. Now, if you're talking about, hey, he's 27, he wants $500 million, I'm all over that shit.
Remember, guys, and this is not to call anybody out. I'm not calling anybody out. But remember, I'm the one who consistently said last year, no chance in hell is Kyle Tucker worth $350 million. Not even a chance. Like not a 100%. Chance in hell is that guy worth $350 million. I was wrong, and he has been awful.
I was definitely wrong.
Thank God the Cubs did not give Kyle Tucker $350 million.
Yeah, his fall off started last year with the Cubs, and it's been great.
Yeah,
and the one thing before we get off the Seiya topic, because I want to get back to PCA here a little bit and go over some of this history that he's making. I've always thought he could be a better DH than a fielder and concentrate on hitting. And as a DH, he's
Sean, that's his decision. He doesn't want to be DH.
I know he wants to play in the field, which is so silly, but he's been great as a DH, man. I mean, 270 hitter and 78 games played at DH, 347 on base, 470 slug, 15 dingers, 47 RBIs. I mean, for me, DH is where he should be, but I know 100%. He doesn't want to do that, and that kind of sucks because his defense is terrible. His defense is terrible.
It's worse than Cubs fans make it out to be. Cubs fans always want to defend Seiya, so they're like, I mean, he's an average out. You guys, he's a below average outfielder.
He's awful.
He's not a good outfielder.
Here, I'll say this because I got to be fair. He's been a lot better this year, and I know that for right fielders this year, he is in the top 3 for defensive runs saved. I do know that. He's had a better year this year, but it still looks difficult if that's fair.
And that's what you just said is exactly what I've been saying about Seiya Suzuki since day one. So, Sean, what you're saying is it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
That is Seiya Suzuki. Everything he does, he's inconsistent.
Doesn't it? To me, watching him in the outfield, when you watch PCA, when you watch Ian Happ, it just looks natural. When you watch Suzuki, it looks difficult. Like these guys left and center for the Cubs, even though Ian Happ's bat is here and there, he's one of the best defensive left fielders around. He's phenomenal in the field. And he just glides the ball. Him and PCA, anything going to left center, I feel so great about it. And I feel good now because I know the speed and the ground that PCA can cover. He can assist Seiya in right field. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't look natural. He doesn't look natural to me.
When you talk about the metrics, and he's top 3, there's catches that they're not going to hold against Seiya Suzuki that catches he did not make because they're tough plays. But other outfielders make those plays. No, because you got Conforto.
You could play Conforto.
Conforto could play right field every day, but it doesn't matter.
Those splits are terrible, though. When he's a starter, he's like a 200 hitter. When he's a DH, he's like 290. So
there's plays in the outfield that say Zuka. They're tough plays. He has to bang up against the wall. He's got that he doesn't catch, and they don't. The metric, the stat makers don't hold it against him because it's a tough play. But PCA would make that catch,
right?
Like you're never going to see that. It's not quantifiable, but. Seiya Suzuki, there was a play, I think it was Baltimore, where the ball was sitting against the wall, and he had it in his glove and it dropped it, but it was because he slammed it. It was a tough catch, but a lot of players make that catch. Really, really good outfielders make that catch. Seiya Suzuki's not that type of athlete. When the ball is hit in the air to Ian Happ or PCA, and you see them start running towards the ball, you almost think to yourself, well, that's a catch. Yeah. He's out. When Seiya starts running towards the ball, you're not like, well, that guy's out. You're like, oh God, please do not trip. Don't hit anything. Don't bump your knee on anything. Just let it be a double. That's what I think when I watch Seiya Suzuki. I think Michael Conforto's a better right fielder. I think Matt Shaw's a better right fielder. I think PCA would be a better right fielder. I think Ian Happ would be a better right fielder. I think Kevin Alcantara would be a better right fielder. I think Dean is a better right fielder. I like Seiya Suzuki. I wish him nothing but the best, and I think he would probably be the best, one of the best DHs in all of baseball. Maybe outside of Ohtani, he would probably be the best DH in baseball. But he wants to play in the field, guys. That's his choice. He's made it quite clear.
Not a good
one.
He
wants to play right field.
But you know what we're gonna do, because it's the end of the first half. I know we have 2 games left, so not officially the end, but it's the end with 2 games left out in the Queen City. I will say this, and if Bruce, you're disqualified because you already guessed this. Chat, if you want to chime in here, check it out. We have a blind resume. This was put up by Mark DeRosa, one of my favorite analysts to watch break down baseball. He put this up, and I was really shocked. This is a blind resume. Now, I have a problem with it, okay? This one of only 9 players, and I didn't make this up. I ripped this right off of Major League Baseball from Mark DeRosa's segment that he did on PCA. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. It says only one of 9 players with 60 home runs and 80 stolen bases in his first 385 at-bats. Now, the player with the question mark here in PCA, and I did a deep dive into this because I wanted to present these players to you guys. I can't find them. I searched high and low. When you Google search it and you put in these stats, it says 2 players in baseball history have done it. PCA and this mystery guy who is a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it in the history of baseball. So let's just put it up.
Maybe it's one of those guys from like 1902.
Yeah, that you can't find. But this is the other thing, because this is, again, all I did was change this from long format to thumbnail format. I didn't make this graphic. This graphic is from MajorLeagueBaseball.com, not from me. So this one says 2 of 10 players. Again, this is from Major League Baseball. I can't find these players. The answer is Barry Bonds, obviously. I can't find the players. I find these numbers to be absolutely amazing. Same home runs, more RBIs, slugs a little lower, more stolen bases. Your weighted runs a little bit higher for Barry Bonds, and the WAR is basically that's dead even. That to me, that's dead even. You're talking about 0.2 of a point. just impressive shit that this guy is doing right now as we move along with history. Multiple 2020 seasons. The Crow-Armstrong,
this is the one.
Sandberg.
This is the one I thought was crazy that PCA joins Clubs Legends with 2020 seasons, because I think Sammy had 3, 4.
Well, we're gonna move on.
Well, that's what's crazy to me is PCA is gonna have like 15.
Yep. So here's your stats on that.
Yeah,
Sammy Sosa has 4, Sandberg has 3, and in 2 years, this guy has 2
full seasons. He has 2. By the end of his career, if he doesn't deal with a bunch of injuries, PCA is going to destroy this. Like it's going to be 3 Cubs in history with 2020 seasons. PCA 16, Sammy Sosa 4, Ryan Sandberg 3.
And you know what sucks for me, honestly? Like Sammy Sosa was a great Cub. Historically, Ryan Sandberg is one of the greatest Cubs to ever put on the uniform and ever do it.
Maybe the greatest Cub.
Yeah, and the fact that he only has 3 is absolutely insane. And the fact that this guy has it in 2 is even more insane. And this is the one I wanted to get your thoughts on, Kyle. Because when you look at Sammy Sosa, 30-30, he's on pace to do it again. He did it last year.
He's going to do it.
He's on pace to do it again this year.
9 home runs and 7 stolen bases, bro. He's going to do it.
Now, let me ask you this, because we just talked about the 2020. You know, if you go back to the 2020 and say, well, these guys did it 4 and 3, Sammy Sosa's only been able to do it twice. How many times do you think Sammy or PCA is going to join this 30-30 club in his career?
He's definitely going to have the Cubs record. I can tell you. I don't know exactly how many times he's going to do it. And another problem, man, is the older they get, the stolen bases go down because they'll lose a step. But
yeah, that's true.
He's got to do it early. But he will definitely have the record for the most 30-30 seasons in the history of the Chicago Cubs. I would say minimum, Sean, 4.
4?
Minimum.
That's about the number I was at, because you know what, you are right. As you get older, you lose a step. You know, not everyone's Ricky Henderson, but Ricky Henderson was able to steal bases throughout his long 20-year major league career. So,
and because of how fast PCA is, when he loses a step, he's still fast.
He's still pretty fast.
I think he'll be stealing bases at 29, 30 years old.
Now, when it comes to this lineup, before we move on, because I'm gonna give my first half grade on the Cubs, because I do want to go over some minor league housekeeping, and obviously in about 10 minutes ago, the Major League Baseball draft just started, and you know what? We'll do the Major League draft first, you know, and then I'm gonna give my grades. Today, obviously, the draft begins. The Cubs hold the 23rd, 62nd, 75th, and 98th, and 126th pick in the MLB draft. And
Bruce, who do the White Sox take, Bruce? If you could look it up for us real quick.
I don't want anyone to throw up when I throw this list up. I almost did putting it together, but Cubs first round draft picks.
Oh God.
Yes, it's not been great. It hasn't been horrible, but it also hasn't been great. Going back to 2011.
Dude, since 2021, they've been pretty damn good. I mean, Jordan Wicks was supposed to be really good pitchers. You can't really actually, Sean, actually, this is a really good list.
It's
Roger
not
Baez,
that bad.
Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, Ian Happ, Ryan Jensen, they still believe you. Nico Horner, the Ryan Jensen, they still have a lot of faith in. Cade Horton, Matt Shaw, Cam Smith, Ethan Cotter. The worst guy on this list is Ed Howard, and that was Theo Epstein.
Yeah. Everyone thought that Ed Howard was going to be great. And Jordan, so if I go down this list, Ethan Conrad, we think is going to be a stud. We don't know. Cam Smith's developing into a stud. Matt Shaw, we all love. Cade Horton can't stay healthy. Jordan Wicks, to me, is a bust. Ed Howard, I think, is a bust. Ryan Jensen still developing. Nico Horner, obviously we love him. 2017 was a complete bust because Lang and Little, I don't even know where they are in the organization. No pick in 2016. Ian Happ, obviously the longest tenure Cub. Kyle Schwarber should have never have left the Cubs. Chris Bryant fell off after he got hit in the head. 2012, just Alberto Mora never developed. Pierce Johnson, Paul Blackburn. I've never even heard of Paul Blackburn.
I don't know who Paul Blackburn is. I don't know. I don't remember Alex Lang either.
I don't know Alex Lang either. I don't know Brendan Little for that matter. So there are, and you know what? It's baseball, so this list can go up and down, up and down. We'll see what they do with the 23rd pick in the draft.
I'm severely impressed by this list.
Yeah.
Kate Horton, absolute badass. Matt Shaw, badass. Cam Smith, you guys, he's 20. People are like, "Oh, Cam Smith's been terrible," and he's 21 years old. Cam Smith's going to be amazing. Ethan Conrad looks like he's, and I know he's early and he's just a prospect, but if he keeps doing what he did throughout his entire collegiate and minor league career, Ethan Conrad's going to be the best hitter in baseball. Nico Horner. Probably the best defensive second baseman in all of the league. Ryan Jensen, like I said, they still have really high hopes for Ryan Jensen. At some point, you're going to see Ryan Jensen soon. If it's not by this year, it'll be next year for sure. Ian Happ, I know, Sean, we have our quarrels with Ian Happ, but he's been a damn good baseball player for a long time. He's not amazing. He's not great. He's not a star. Yeah, but he's Mr. Consistent. He really deals with injuries. He's really good in left field. He's going to be up there in the Cubs in organization for home runs. I think he's going to be top 10 in home runs. Be top 10 in games played. So certainly not a bad pick. Not like a wasted pick. Kyle Schwarber, a guy who just consistently hits 50 bombs every season. Chris Bryant was an MVP and Rookie of the Year. Should have been one of the best players in baseball history, but obviously injuries altered that. And then Javier Baez. I mean, absolute badass, fun to watch. Good, has flashes where he's been one of the best players in all baseball. The 2012 one, the Albert Almora, Pierce Johnson, Paul Blackburn, I think they'd like that one back. I think they'd like that one back. But the rest of them, I'm thoroughly impressed with this list.
It's actually not that bad now that you know what? I was kind of more or less looking at the Jordan Wicks, the Ed Howard, the Brendan Little, Alex Lang, the Almora, Pierce Johnson, Paul Blackburn. Yeah, but Almora actually came up and flashed. It just never all came together for him.
Yeah, and you miss. Everybody misses.
Yeah,
every GM has a year where they're looking at their first round pick and they're going, ugh. Every GM of baseball has one where they look back at their last 20 years of first round picks and go, ugh, we missed on that one. That was not good. Yeah,
I didn't hate Albert Almora, but for a first round pick, he never developed into a first round talent.
Yeah, like you said, Sean, there's flashes. There was times where I thought, I'm like, man, Almora is going to be really good. And it was the same with Addison Russell. Like Addison Russell, at times where he looked amazing, and there's other times where you're like, man, he just kind of looks average. But you miss. Sometimes you miss. And real quick, Sean, I know you're going to hate this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Congratulations to the White Sox on taking Rock Cholowski, because that kid is absolutely.
Is that the UCLA shortstop?
Yep, they just added what's going to be one of the best players in baseball to the Chicago White Sox on the south side. That kid is amazing, dude.
Look, we'll see what he develops.
Sean, they're saying he's the Mike Trout on the infield.
Well, the White Sox.
It looked like he paused for a second. Right? I thought he paused. You were very still.
The White Sox actually made a big trade today, as long as we're talking about the draft. The Pittsburgh Pirates acquired Jacob Gonzalez. Let me just read this. Left-handed reliever Brandon Essert from the Chicago White Sox for the 34th pick in today's draft. Left-handed reliever Jaden Woods also went over to the White Sox. The deal was done. The acquisition of the 34th pick pushes the White Sox draft bonus pool to nearly $20.5 million. Chicago is currently tied for first in the AL Central. They have the number one overall selection, which was Rock Cholowski. The draft started at 12:30. Sorry, it started an hour ago. I was looking at Eastern time. My bad. So the White Sox are making some moves. Well,
Sean, then we should know who the Cubs took, right?
Did the Cubs make their selection at 23rd already?
If it started an hour ago, they definitely should have made their selection already.
Let's see. Cubs draft pick 2026. Let's see.
Yeah, man, I'm so jealous of the White Sox. I'm so jealous. That Cholowski's
going to be jealous of the White Sox because we got studs too, bro.
Cholowski's going to be so good, man.
I'm trying to find. I don't think the Cubs have picked yet. This was supposed to be a draft tracker. Oh, yep, here it is. Let's see where we at here. I'm going down the list. Nope. They were only at pick 13. The Cardinals just selected Trevor Condon. So the Cubs are on the clock in 10 picks.
Jeez, man,
right
this
now.
is a snail's pace. An hour in, and they're on pick 13, dude.
Yeah, I've never watched an MLB draft, so I don't know exactly like how they go or anything like that. I didn't. And Erica, thanks for sharing that. I didn't even see that you did that because I was reading my notes on the bottom.
You read that, and she posted it about 5 seconds after you read it. Yeah, thank you, Erica. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. I just wanted to say, listen, I know a lot of Cubs fans hate the White Sox, but for that team, for that fan base to have sustained what they've sustained over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years is just absolutely atrocious. And now with what the talent they have on that White Sox team to add Cholowski to that middle of that order, middle of that lineup is scary, man. The White Sox are going to be a damn good baseball team in a couple of years. Damn good baseball team, man.
I have some great news for Kyle because he's been waiting for this all baseball season. Ethan Conrad is back.
Thank God.
The first overall pick last year, 17th overall, is now in Low A, Myrtle Beach. Sidelined with that back issue that we've talked about on and off throughout the programs on Saturday, throughout the baseball season. In the Arizona Complex League, he not only was there, but he destroyed it. 7 for 17, 5 singles, a double, and a home run. He wound up in that league slashing 412, 500, 647. He just had 2 strikeouts over 5 games. In his debut in that league, 94 mile per hour line out, 103.4 mile per hour single, a 98 mile per hour single, and a 90 mile per hour single. Ethan Conrad did make his debut just this past Thursday in single A. Did not go as planned. He went 0 for 5, but he did have a line drive that registered an impressive exit velo of 105.1. So Ethan Conrad is back, and that is something that all Cub fans should be really excited about.
Yeah, I almost didn't want him to come back before the trade deadline, so other teams aren't noticing him, because I honestly, guys, and I know this is probably just the biased Cubs fan in me talking, but if you go back, I did some extensive research on Ethan Conrad.
Kyle did. This is Kyle's favorite prospect right now.
You go back and you look, and listen, it's aluminum bat leagues are much, much easier to have higher batting averages. It's just much easier. But when you get into wooden bat leagues, which he's played at Cape Cod, that's very rare for people to play at the collegiate level. Usually they go straight from college to the minor leagues. He's played in wooden bat leagues, and he's hit 400 in both those leagues. He hit over 400 in both those leagues. If he does that here, if he can be 320 average in the majors, because you expect a huge drop off when you're talking about major league pitching. If this guy can hover around 300 with his power and his discipline at the plate, he doesn't strike out a ton. You're talking about potentially one of the best hitters in all of baseball. This guy could be one of the best hitters in the entire major leagues. The only thing about Ethan Conrad is I don't necessarily know where he's going to play. I would assume right field. He's not a standout defender by any means necessary. He's not going to be one of the best defenders in all of baseball. But if you can get his bat into the lineup by 2028, you're talking about possibly one of the best hitters. If you got him and PCA back to back, Alex Preck, the Cubs offense gets a lot better.
Good luck. I will also say this: we had another return, not super impressive, but just getting back. So I'm not gonna lose.
I'm not worried about any of the return. First game back,
I'm gonna lose my mind over it. But Jackson Wiggins did make his Iowa return last evening, Friday evening. 2 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. 39 of 76 pitches were for strikes. But again, he's been out for quite some time.
Sean, you said 76. It's actually 6'7", 6'7".
6'7". Sorry, 6'7". And I put up in the corner his average pitch clock was at 98 coming off of IL yesterday. So for me, a huge Jackson Wiggins fan, which all Cubs fans should be, this was a very, very encouraging sign. Not only getting Ethan Conrad back, but getting Jackson Wiggins back, because 2 of your premier prospects are back and headed on their track to the Major League Ball Club somewhere down the road. So very excited about
and Jackson Wiggins should be, if he stays healthy, you should see him in 2026. So Cubs fans should be really excited about Jackson Wiggins.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. Every week that we're on the show, I'm going to be tracking him. Because I'm very excited to see if he can develop into, before his injury, the shutdown pitcher that he was, because he was very difficult to hit. Of course, like every pitcher, we just talked about Christopher Sanchez. He had a couple up and down starts, but for the most part, consistent, dominant, averages 98 miles per hour. He's got some great off-speed stuff. He mixes his pitch as well. This is a guy that I'm super excited to see where the future
Yeah,
goes.
I mean, you guys, when you talk about the future, it's Jackson Wiggins, Cade Horton, and Ben Brown. That's the future of the Chicago Cubs. And what a surprise, Carter Hawkins. The guys who throw the fastest are the best.
Future.
That's crazy.
So I'm gonna give my grade really quick.
Erica says, "Can we trade Jed for Chris Getz?" I love Chris Getz. I knew that was a great hire for the Sox when they made it, and all the Sox fans were complaining about it. Chris Getz is one of the most well-respected guys in all of baseball, man. I don't understand how anybody could be upset about that when they signed him. He's notoriously one of the most liked guys, well-respected, smart, intelligent, admired guys in all of Major League Baseball.
I'm looking over my final notes here and seeing if I want to change anything, but I think I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to say, for me, the first half hasn't been perfect. I think we can all agree on that. Considering the circumstances, for me, it's been successful to be 10 games over 500, wild card leader. Then you start adding in some of the other things. You might have found a second ace if Ben Brown can return to health. You found a bona fide, legitimate superstar in PCA. The offense has, for the most part, demonstrated championship level potential. The pitching staff has fought through an overwhelming number of injuries, but the team has, for the most part, firmly remained involved in the playoff race. However, inconsistencies in the bullpen and collapses and lack of dependable starting pitching has prevented them from being an A-level talent team in the first half, even though they have shown that at times, a consistent A-level talent team. But as I said a little bit ago, I think the Cubs have done enough to prove that they deserve some help. I think the players on this roster have done enough to prove that they deserve some help. So I do think that the front office should be rewarding their efforts here and go out and make some moves and give them a legitimate opportunity to compete in October. My first half grade for the Cubs is a B-. I'm lost my way a little bit in May when the bottom just dropped out. And yeah, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit too much, too fast, too quickly, and shot my wad and called this team done with. And, that happens sometimes when you're passionate and your heart's being stomped on every single day. But I will give this team a B- when I put everything in totality that this team has had to go through. I'm not giving the front office a pass either, but I do want to say, some of the people in the chat throughout the show, they've gotten these garbage relievers, garbage starters. I got to commend Jed for doing the best that he can with what he can find to try and keep this team afloat. That's all I can say for now. I'm giving him a B-. And as a Cub fan, the roller coaster ride, albeit sometimes is very tough to deal with, I'm overall pretty happy with the first half of the Cubs season. That's all. With everything in totality that's happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back as far as the offseason, and I'm gonna give them a B+, like Bruce. Erica agrees with you, Sean. She said B-. But let's talk about this for a second here. First of all, you absolutely stole Crow-Armstrong. You stole him. The guy should have made $600 million.
Hold on, Kyle. Was that for 2 months of Javi Baez?
Yeah, and you just paid him. I mean, Sean, he should be getting much more money than Kyle Tucker. Why you should be getting way more money than Kyle
That
Tucker.
contract looks really good, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
he should be getting Otani money. He should be getting $650-700 million, and you got him for nothing. So a plus for that. The one thing, regardless of how the season has gone, guys, perseverance, resilience, overcoming adversity. Like, this team has done everything in their power to stay afloat. Like I said, if you're talking about a team that was healthy all season, you're talking about clearly one of the best teams in baseball if they had the pitching to help their offense. There's a couple moves here and there that the Cubs made that, for instance, this is no disrespect at all, and I don't think we've certainly have not seen the best of him yet, but Moises Ballesteros probably shouldn't have been a guy who wasn't involved in trade talks. The Cubs like him so much. I don't think he has the power to be like one of the best DHs in baseball. So that one to me is a little questionable. I think another one of those guys that the Cubs fell in love with the name on the back of the jersey rather than what he could offer this team. But for the most part, Sean, I mean, making sure Carson Kelly was still here for another year, they've done a pretty damn good job. I'm thoroughly impressed with the Cubs, with what they've done this season. I'm still not impressed with the front office because Carter Hawkins going out in public and saying, I'm not a big fan of flamethrowers. I like the more, like, you're an idiot. Don't say that in public. Why would you go out there and tell the world that you're an idiot? Don't do that. And that's part of the reason they're in the position they're in, because they don't have flamethrowers in their bullpen. That's why their Cubs are dealing with bullpen woes right now. When you talk about guys like Phil Maton and Jacob Webb, they don't have the guys who throw 99. That's why Palencia is the best bullpen pitcher, because he throws 99, 100 miles an hour. If they would have changed gears and try to keep up with baseball and go in the same direction everybody else is going, where it's just speed, velocity, I think they'd be in a much better spot right now. So I got to hold that against them. But the way that they've endured all these injuries, the way that they've overcome, and they're still they're leading the wild card race in the NL. I got to give them B+, man. I got to. And I almost hate to do that because there's so many times where Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins piss me off so much. I want to punch them in the
100%.
face. But I can't. I think with my brain, not my heart. I got to credit where credit is due. For a team that is throwing the Ryan Rollisons and Jake Fergusons and Trent Thorntons of the world out there every day and still 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break. And for Sean, we just talked about a team that expected a lot more out of Alex Bregman, expected a lot more out of Ian Happ, expect a lot more out of all these guys with runners in scoring position, and they have not. They can't swing the bat. Fred Counsell and Jed Hoyer can't swing the bat. They can only put these guys in position to succeed. I think they've done a pretty damn good job. I think they have, man. You guys, 17 pitchers in the IL. That's insane.
It's tough, man.
This should be a conversation that should be had on MLB Network every day, on ESPN every day. What has happened to this Cubs team, and the fact that they're still 10 games over 500 is absolutely remarkable. It's remarkable. Sean, tell me another team have you ever seen this?
I've never seen this.
Have you ever seen this?
I don't know. Unless I just don't know.
I'm not even saying this as a biased Cubs fan. I'm honestly asking you, have you ever seen this?
No, I personally, I have not. Personally, I've seen it. I've seen it in a fantasy football team, but
football makes sense because they're grown men hitting each other like semi trucks. You're like, well, yeah, you're gonna have injuries. Baseball, to lose 17 pitchers before the All-Star break, I've never seen it.
And Kyle, I'm gonna do this because I wanted to get this out, and I wanted to talk a little bit. Just, we're going to wrap this up here in a couple of minutes. It was a longer show because we're breaking down a long 92. What is it? 95.
Sean had to celebrate his birthday last week.
95 games. I wanted to grade Craig Counsell, and I'm going to say he had an uneven first half. I don't like, after yesterday, his career with the Cubs. He's 64-64 against the NL Central. To me, that record is unacceptable. But Counsell does deserve some credit for managing through, constantly changing pitching staffs. He's rarely had a bullpen or a rotation that he can count on, or the organization envisioned at the beginning of the season. At the same time, some of the bullpen decisions, like the ones we talked about in Baltimore the other day, have been difficult to understand. There have been games in which the Cubs appeared to save their better relievers for situations and put in less dependable pitchers in close games that have left us scratching our heads. Like, why did they do that? But I'm also going to say not every loss can be placed on the manager, especially with so many injuries. But Counsell, has been for me. He has to be more aggressive in the second half of the season. With the standings still tight and the Cubs still in the division, I'm sorry, they still have plenty of games against the Brewers. You have to beat them head to head if you want to catch the division. And I'm not going to sit here and say the Cubs can't beat the Brewers because we expect them to get swept, and they went into Milwaukee and took 2 out of 3. The Brewers, I'm sorry,
the worst pitching rotation I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that the head scratchers stop. He tightens things up. He's a little bit more aggressive in the second half. But my overall grade, I'm going to give him, much like I gave the Cubs a B-. I'm going to give him a C+ because I do think
you and Erica have like very.
Oh, look at Erica! I'm going to say this with Counsell. I think that some of those close game decisions where he used questionable relievers, and Kyle, we've talked about this together. Like, dude, why did he bring in this dude when he still had this dude available? Costing us some games. I think if those situations don't happen, my grade would be higher, but I'm giving him a C+. I almost wanted to give him a B because he's had to sit through so much. And I'm going to tip my cap because of everything he's had to deal with, the inconsistent bullpen, not having a guy to call on and say, hey, this is my guy I can get out of this situation with. And then again, of course, the ever-changing rotation. But the thing that keeps me in that C+, and I almost dropped it to a C-, and I was really right there, was the inconsistencies in the lineup and not breaking up 3, 4, 5 for so long, especially when the Cubs were in that slump in May. He left my head scratching in May so gosh darn much, but I'm going to give him a C+ when I look at everything in totality.
We're not far off, Sean. C+. I'm right there. Listen, it's quite clear that Craig Counsell's greatest strength is handling adversity. That is his greatest strength, no doubt about it. The way he's handled the adversity is what makes Craig Counsell a better manager than some. The things that I have problems with are the things you just talked about, Sean. The love for Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki in the middle of the lineup when they were absolutely atrocious. He just refused to pull them out of the 3-4 line spot. He should have made those changes much earlier. I don't like the way he's managed Shota Managa's pitch counts. I think Erica just put that in the chat. Like you should, a guy at 90 pitches who's pitching one hitter should not be pulled. I don't like the way he's managed the young kids, Kevin Alcantara, Pedro Ramirez, Matt Shaw. I don't think those guys have had nearly enough playing time. Some of those guys, especially Ramirez, I think should be involved in this team a lot more than he has been. I mean, since Ramirez has been here, guys, he's been great. He's been great for a young kid who's been thrown in the fire and is probably nervous, is heart pounding at every at bat. He's been Mr. Consistent. You need a sac fly, he gets a sac fly. You need a base hit, he gets a base hit. Like Pedro Ramirez has been awesome, and we don't even know how awesome he is because we don't ever see him. That's something Craig Counsell has always been guilty of. He loves the Justin Turners and Michael Confortos, and he doesn't like the kids. And that's just kind of seems to be who he is. That's the type of the way he manages, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's been inconsistencies here and there. Some things that Sean, you've talked about the bullpen decisions. Some of them, like when he brought Mayton in against the 3. Well, I think it was left-handers in a row, and they were hitting 400 off of them. I'm like, why of all people would you bring Mayton? Like that doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure Craig Counsell has his explanation if you asked him personally. But yeah, for the fact that this team is still in it with all the injuries they've sustained. And Sean, you remember the day that we were on the phone when Kate Horton looked towards the sideline and said something was wrong. Like that was heartbreaking. I mean, heartbreaking.
My heart sunk.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And for him to lose his best pitcher and then Justin Steele to have that setback, a week later, I think it was, after Kate Horton was out for the season, for him to still persevere and push through and find a way to duct tape this thing together, like you said. They get David Peterson here. They have these guys in the bullpen, Trent Thornton, Jake Ferguson, Ryan Rollison, guys we've never heard of. And somehow this team finds a way to win games. You got to give credit where credit is due. I have plenty of problems with Craig Counsell. We could talk about it for 3 hours if we had the time. But for the most part, you got to look at the end result. And the end result is this team is 10 games over 500 with 17 pitchers on the IL. So at the end of the day, testament to Craig Counsell. I still don't think he's like the best manager in baseball, but he's definitely better than I gave him credit for. And I have no problem admitting that. I don't do you, Sean, you know me for a very long time. I do not have a problem admitting when I'm wrong. I was wrong about Craig Counsell. I'm happy with the job he's done here. I want him to continue to be the manager here. But Yeah, he's got to start making a few adjustments here and there. He's got to start catching up to Major League Baseball. Like, dude, these kids are playing. Look around the league, guys.
Yeah.
Kids are playing. That's what they're doing. These days of, keep them in the farm system for 6 years, bring them up here, let them play sparingly for a year. That's done. It's done. Those days are gone. That ship has sailed. These kids play. He needs to start relying more on the Matthew Shaws and the Pedro Ramirez's of the world. And you know what? In Craig Counsell's defense, he said it. He came out publicly and said, I should have played Matt Shaw more before he got hurt. He should have been more involved in this team. So he's acknowledging it. And that's a step in the right direction. So I agree with you, Sean. I'll give him anywhere from a C to a B minus, somewhere in there. And I'm fine with that. I
will tell you this. I completely forgot to put the graphic in for the last two games here. But we have 2 games left before the All-Star break. We got Assad versus Nick Lodolo today, and then Matthew Boyd closes it out against Andrew Abbott tomorrow. Where did the Cubs finish? 1-1, 0-2, 2-0.
2-0. These bats are going to wake up, guys. And when the bats wake up, Cincinnati is not a good place for anybody to be playing the Cubs if their bats are on hot. Because and I know yesterday they struggled against Green. That's going to happen. But I think for the most part, the offense you've seen over the last 3 weeks, a month, I think that's probably the offense you're going to see more consistently. And like we said, Sean, we talked about it. The best player, Alex Bregman, hasn't even woke up yet. He's going to.
Yeah.
At some point he's going to. I have to just hold on to hope that Alex Bregman at some point is going to look somewhat like Alex Bregman, right? You just expect it. And that's not unfair to expect because he's been this way for 9 years, right? Like you expect him to hit that 280. You expect Nico Horner to hit 300 at some point because that's who he is. The smaller sample size are the recent struggles, right? Nico Horner is certainly the smaller sample size of the recent struggles. I think the Cubs bats wake up today and tomorrow.
Yes.
And I think they score a lot of runs, and I think they go 2-0 against the Reds because the Reds are not good, guys. They're not good. It's not a good baseball team.
Before we put a bow on this, I wanted to get NL Central housekeeping. Jordan Walker, the phenom on the Cardinals, became the first Major League player this week with 70 RBIs. He's the first Cardinals hitter since 2002's NL MVP Paul Goldschmidt to drive in 70 RBIs before the All-Star break. So I guess congratulations to that turd.
Well, and he's in the home run derby. Hopefully that screws up his swing.
Yeah, God, I hope so. And then free agent Pritchard. I really, before we get out of here, wanted to get your thoughts on this one because he came in for the Cubs and did a great job, and the Cubs cut him immediately. But the Milwaukee Brewers signed Bryce Wilson to a contract, and he will be joining their bullpen. And wouldn't it be ironic if he recorded the last 3 outs in a Cubs-Brewers playoff series? Wouldn't that be ironic?
Yeah, I'm okay without Bryce Wilson. You guys saw Bryce Wilson in the second against the Cardinals. He was awful. Awful. And I think the way he looked in that 17-1 loss against the Cardinals, I think that's probably more who Bryce Wilson is rather than the great game he pitched prior to that. I think the reason he was a free agent is because that's who Bryce Wilson is.
Because he sucks.
And I'm absolutely fine with the Brewers. The Brewers want to pick up the Cubs scraps, a team that literally has no pitching at all, and they're still letting that guy go. Then go ahead, Adam. Be my guest. And
you might be right there, Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, there's some Cubs pitchers that have come up here and pitched really well, and they let them go, and I don't understand it. Vince Velasquez, that one bothers me a little bit.
That one bothers me a lot.
But Bryce Wilson does not bother me in any way, shape, or form.
I'm actually surprised, Erica, we didn't hear that Woodford was DFA'd today because there's zero chance he's going to pitch, and he's a useless pitcher on this team to begin with. I don't expect to see him after the All-Star break either. I think the Cubs will have Thornton available today. They should have Ryan Rollison available today.
Well, you know what? I think Craig's starting to trust these guys, some of these certain guys a little bit more. That's why you're seeing Bryce Wilson getting DFA. Like, I expect to see a lot more of Hollowell going forward, guys. A lot more.
He looks pretty good, man.
I have no complaints. Listen, you know he's not the best relief pitcher in the world. We all know that. If he was, he would have been here a long time ago. But for not only has he been good, guys, but he's been, Bryce Wilson came into a game when the Cubs were already down by 10 runs and gave up 7 more runs. Like, not good. Hollowell's come in some high leverage.
He's got good stuff. He's
Yeah.
got good stuff.
Yeah.
We saw it last year.
And when he came in against Baltimore, guys, he faced the heart of that, like their badasses. I'm like, oh man, this could get bad real quick. And he just mowed them down, man. Hollowell looked good last year. He looked good in AAA. He's looked good since he's been here this year. He's I think he's kind of that Ryan Rolison type of pitcher where you're going to have bad days. Sure. Absolutely. He's not the best reliever in the world, but I think he's starting to earn more and more trust from Craig Counsell. I think you're going to see a lot more of him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will say this, Kyle, in this Red Series, I'm very happy we don't have to face the 11-1, 254, 111 strikeouts versus 27 or 37 walks. Chase Burns, we caught a break.
Guys,
I will tell you this. At the beginning of the year, remember I told you, they're bringing up Chase Burns, and this guy's an absolute monster of a pitcher. He is turning into that.
I could tell you this.
Him and Hunter Green are going to be tough at the top of that rotation.
I can tell you this, Sean. If the Reds season continues to go the way it's been going, especially for the next 3 weeks until the trade deadline, I don't know if those guys are going to be Cincinnati Reds.
You cannot chase. You cannot trade Chase Burns, man.
Sean,
maybe Hunter Green.
How far away are those Cincinnati Reds from winning a World Series?
I don't know, man. Here, I
years.
know things haven't gone their way. But when you look at that rotation and say they have Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Chase Burns, I don't know why things are so bad for them. Maybe the bullpen isn't up to par.
Out of Burns, Green's inconsistent, man.
Green's injured a lot.
And he's inconsistent, man. There's been times where Green has not looked good at all. And then there's times where he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball. Lodolo. Yeah. I mean, the problem with the Reds is all the guys, these hitters they brought up over the last 3 seasons that they told us were going to be absolutely amazing, just aren't that amazing.
They're okay.
Who's that catcher that they brought up 2 years ago? And I think he's their DH now. What's that guy's name? Is it Singleton? What's his name? Tyler's. I don't know. We were told he was going to be the best catcher in all of baseball. He's not even in their starting lineup anymore, man.
You're not talking about PJ Higgins? No, PJ Higgins was the former Cub.
No, I'm talking about. I think it's Tyler something or
Tyler.
I'd have to look at the Reds roster, but he was supposed to be really good, and he has not been really good. He has not been really good.
Well, I know this. Ryan.
It's Tyler Stevenson. That's the guy.
Tyler Stevenson.
Yeah, Tyler Stevenson.
Joe Ryan is on the bump right now for the Minnesota Twins. He's 2 innings in, 2 strikeouts, 36 pitches. They have a 3-0 lead. Just keep that arm healthy. We'd like to see you on the Northside, buddy.
Joe Ryan is he a rental?
I think Joe Ryan just signed a deal. I think
he's got 1 year left on his contract after this season. I think he's signed through 2027.
He's only 1 year. 1 year, $6.2 million. So he would be a rental too.
But it's team option.
He's under club control until 2028.
Yeah, so you have a team option. So you'd have to pay him his arbitration, but next year he'd still be on your team. If the Cubs can somehow get Joe Ryan here and they get another year out of him, and you're talking about a rotation of Cade Horton, Justin Steele, Joe Ryan, Ben Brown, and Edward Cabrera, the Cubs become the most dangerous team in baseball.
And when you look at Sonny Gray and you look at that contract, the deal includes a $30 million mutual option for 2027 with a $10 million buyout. So
that's the way most of these baseball contracts are going, where the team's giving themselves an option. I think that's the way most of these are going.
So they would both be rentals, but for me, it's like, let's go and try and win a World Series if we can, man. If you're in contention, these things don't come. These opportunities don't come along all that often. So go ahead and
you should always, if you have a chance,
do it.
Always beat you. That's the point. That's why you take the field. So if you have a chance, then make a run, man.
4 picks away, Erica. 4 picks away. They're at 19.
I cannot believe how slow this MLB draft goes. This is what is there? 25 minutes in between each pick?
Yeah, 4 picks. They're on pick 20. So you got 20, 21, 22, and then the Cubs are up. So 3 picks away.
They're literally that means there's like 25 minutes in between each pick.
Dude, they started
That's
2 hours
insane.
ago, bro. 2 hours ago, and they're not even in 20 picks.
God, I feel bad for the players who are getting picked.
They're picking their asses in the green room.
Well, it's like, am I going to get picked? Am I going to pick? I'll find out in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We'll cover this Cubs draft pick 1 week from now. Enjoy the All-Star break. Unfortunately, It looks like the Cubs opportunity at All-Star game is going to be suspended out in a strike season, which sucks, man, because I was at that 1990 All-Star game, and it wasn't the best All-Star game. You know, I was how old was I? I was 13 years old. I think it was like 3-0, 2-0, something like that. And Andre Dawson was.
Yeah, but Sean, would they push it back or would they just scratch?
I don't know. I don't know how it works for a strike season. I don't know.
Yeah, like,
it really sucks because I'll tell you this: I was 1,000,000% going to All-Star weekend.
I would have gone with you 100%, dude. Just see an All-Star game in Wrigley would be amazing.
See the home run. I wouldn't even went inside for the home run derby. I would have just stood out on the street and waited for home run balls, dude.
And I promise you this: I don't care if he was voted in as a reserve or a starter or what. I don't give a shit. The manager of the NL team, if we went to the All-Star game next year at Wrigley, and PCA was a reserve, the manager of the NL team would make PCA. He would put the starter in for one play, one out, and then PCA would play center field for the rest of the game.
Well, let's just be honest. It's a crime that the major league leader in WAR isn't a starter in the All-Star game. I'm
ridiculous.
Sorry.
He now has the same WAR as Ohtani, including Ohtani's pitching.
Yeah,
including Ohtani's pitching.
Like it's
insane.
It's insane to the fact that we've talked about this. He is becoming public enemy number 1. He really is.
I think he likes it. I like it.
He does too.
I like it. You know why, Sean? You know why it's good to have a villain?
You know who he talks to a lot? He talks to this guy, and he was like, "Let him hate you. Let him hate you."
You know why it's awesome to have a villain? Because that means he's good.
Yeah.
You can only be a villain if you're good. Nobody gives a shit about you if you're not.
You're looking at 2 villains right there.
Hell yeah. And real quick to that point, anybody still watching, I just want to give a quick congratulations to Chicago Bulls and Caleb Wilson, because Caleb Wilson scored 35 points in his summer league debut yesterday, and is the record for the most points ever scored in a summer league debut. So congratulations to Caleb Wilson.
He took it away from who?
I don't know. I didn't see.
Took it away from Darren Peterson, who did it just a couple days prior.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, you know what's awesome about the summer league, and I know people, it's NBA summer league, probably not going to be going out of the way to watch it. But guys, you know what's really cool about the summer league is he played Boozer yesterday, Caleb Wilson, and then his next 2 games are Darren Peterson and the first guy picked. I don't know what the first guy's picked name is.
AJ Despancia.
He plays in his first 3 summer league games. He plays all 3 of those guys.
Do they play the summer league games at the United Center?
I don't think so.
Because I'll be honest, if they are, I want to go because I want a Darren Peterson autograph.
I know that in his first 3 games he plays the other top 3 picks. I know that for a fact.
I'll tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not the hugest NBA fan. I'm a Kansas Jayhawks fan. Yeah. I personally believe and think that DP is going to be the best of the top 4 that came out of this. I honestly think Boozer is going to wind up being the worst of the 4 in totality. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, obviously. I just think when it comes to the position that he's going to play, I mean, he had, 10 turnovers in his first game in the D League or in the Summer League. He came back, turned it over twice, had 12 assists, 28 points. I don't know, man. There's something different about DP. If he can stay healthy, man, he's going to be.
I think as of right now, if you took all 4 of their ceilings, and the guys, mind you, I don't know a ton about the NBA, so I'm speaking out of term here, but if you took all 4 of their ceilings right now, like what they were projected to be when they were drafted, I think Darren Peterson is obviously the best. I think it's without question. But I think the person that we know the least about when it comes to their ceiling is Caleb Wilson. And if Caleb Wilson can become Kevin Durant, like some people say that he could, And I'm not saying he can't because I don't know much about basketball. I mean, I know about a lot about the sport of basketball, but not the players because I don't watch it. But if he can end up being that Kevin Durant type player where he's long, lengthy, but he can shoot like just as good as anybody else in basketball, I think there is potential that Caleb Wilson could be better than Darren Peters.
Yeah, and I really like Dustin's comparison earlier to Kevin Garnett. I think a mix between Garnett and Durant. Hey,
Yeah,
look, man.
I didn't make the Durant comparison. Somebody else said they were like some of the experts say he could be Kevin Durant because he moves like him, he has the length of him, he can shoot like him. I don't know a ton about the NBA, Sean, but I know Kevin Durant's fucking amazing. I know that.
I watched him in the Big 12 versus Kansas, man. He's here. I'll say this, man. I hope for the Bulls' sake, for Bulls fans' sake, because I'll be honest, I'm a casual. I'll watch the Bulls if they're good, if they're in the playoffs. I'll watch them and I'll root for them. You know, I haven't watched the Bulls probably since Kirk Heinrich was here. Funny that. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I hope for the Bulls fans' sake that Caleb Wilson is the guy who turns this franchise around, because outside of one franchise in this city, I want every franchise in the city to succeed. And I hope the Bulls can take the jump, because I'll be honest, playoff basketball is fun. And maybe this year will be a special year for them in the memory of the great Stacey King. Maybe they'll be able to pick it up for him. And the thing that sucks about Caleb Wilson being here is just imagine all the great puns and great things that Stacey King would have come up with during his analysis and broadcast of the Bulls. So rest in peace, Stacey, man. I hope the Bulls do well. I do. I mean, I don't hate the Bulls at all. I don't even have a favorite basketball team. My favorite basketball team is whichever one the Jayhawk is on, to be honest with you. So
no, the Cubs need to sign a Caleb, man. And they'll be like, you get a Caleb, and you get a Caleb, and you get a Caleb.
Everybody, Caleb's for everybody.
Caleb Wilson,
All right,
Caleb Williams.
Enjoy the All-Star break. It should be fun. The Home Run Derby is always fun. What's the Home Run Derby? Is Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah. Monday. Enjoy the Home Run Derby Monday. All-Star Game Tuesday. Baseball returns as the Minnesota Twins will arrive at Wrigley Field. Joe Ryan and the Minnesota Twins come in. Cubs should hopefully be able to beat Joe Ryan and the Minnesota Twins. Hopefully a sweep, followed by the Detroit Tigers. So there's a good chance if Scooble starts game one.
No, because Scooble will start after the All-Star.
Is he starting the All-Star game?
No, I mean, so he'll start the first. If he's in the All-Star game, then he will play the Cubs. If he's not in the All-Star game, then he won't play the Cubs. I don't think
he will play the Cubs because it would be game one. They'd play 2 games. Oh no, he would miss the Cubs.
No, because he would play in the series prior. He would be. Yeah. I don't think he's in the All-Star game because of his injury, right? I don't think. I don't think he made the All-Star team.
I don't remember
because he missed 2 months of the season. Like, you can't make the All-Star game if you miss 2 months of the season, unless you're Jacob Mizrowski last year and you pitched 3 games.
Yeah, and I don't think the Tigers are trying to get back into contention. I think we'll open.
If I'm the Tigers, I am not letting Tariq Skubal pitch in the All-Star game. That's just
me. I would not either. But it should be a fun midsummer classic. And until next week, everybody, we love you. Don't forget, Monday, 7 o'clock, we'll be back talking something Bears. What Bears? I don't know. Something. We'll figure it out. Just come hang out with us. It'll be fun.
Well, conversation on Monday about potentially the Detroit Lions team becoming like a pick what you want off of it, because I think that team's going to end up sucking this year. So we'll have that conversation.
Hey, there we go. Yes. Until then, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget Cubs today at 6:10, tomorrow at 12:40. Go check out some Cubs baseball. Stay cool, everybody. Those temperatures are picking up. It's going to be a scorcher next week. So take care of the elderly. Take care of all your friends. Make sure everyone's okay as this heat wave comes through Chicago for the next week. Until then, peace and love, everybody. We will see you guys on Monday.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubbies.